let us go ahead and let's get started for tonight's stream. Let me turn that off. Make sure that we are all set. There we go. Welcome back everybody. And just a reminder to everybody, if you can do me a favor, we are live as well over on our YouTube channel. If you guys can do me a favor and open a tab over there as well. We are trying to get monetized. So if you can open a tab for over there, it will greatly help me with getting that set up. Hi Tyler, welcome in. How are you? How's your night? Hi Mesa, how are you, handsome? May have also been eyeing the DNA design upgrade kit for Nova Primus since I got the figure for Christmas. Oh, hi Ian, welcome in. How are you? Gonna take this moment to freshen up the face wash and swap my headphones to earbuds. Okie dokie. Hi Ivan, how are you? I know what Capitón is. You did a good Capitón. You got me good. Hi Caveman, welcome in. If you guys would like to join us, we are going to be doing chapter 15 of Dracula. I will drop the link into chat. 15, Dr. Seward's diary. Here we go. I will drop the link into chat if you guys would like to join us on the story time. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Hold on, let me do this really quick. This is a command. Not that one, but we need the reading club. Yes, here we go. Alright, then we're gonna go here. We're not doing focus items tonight, it is book. There we go. If you guys would like, there we go. We can pin that one to the top of chat. Excellent. Good. How was your night? Face fresh and headphones swapped and earbuds water hydrated. Good. Everybody, I'm going to force us to do a quick care package just in case anybody didn't stand up and already do that. Never mind, you have 2 more minutes. We'll do one in 2 minutes. We'll do the care package in 2 minutes. All right. I think we are all set up and settled and ready to get into Dracula. So, in the last chapter, we found out that Mina, who is married to oh gosh, what's his name? To Jonathan Harker, that she read his journal about everything that happened to him while he was in Dracula's castle. And so because he did that, because he read that, because she read that, she transcribed it into, because he wrote it in shorthand, which is usually used for like, what are they called at a courtroom? They're the ones that like write everything down or like type everything out, and it's usually in shorthand. So she knows how to do that, and she taught him, and then she transcribed it into like full English, I guess, right? Longhand, I guess, what you would call it. And so she ended up meeting Dr. Van Helsing, and he told her that there's something going on because of what happened to Jonathan. And so she sends him home, or she sends him off with the transcribed journal that she had from him, from Jonathan. And Van Helsing said, I know a way to help your husband. And also, there's these things going on in one of the towns nearby. And it's your friend Lucy. Lucy, the one that passed away, they are the ones that are attacking these children and draining them of their blood. And that's where we are right now. He just told her that he thinks it's her, that she has been turned into a vampire. I'm here with the hoodie and homemade naranjada? Homemade orange juice? I'm definitely ready. Wait, is that what that is? Naranjada? That's homemade orange juice, right? I need the bigger wings for my Nova Prime because the wings on the figure are too small. Nova Prime, is that a Gundam? Hi Fish, thank you for the kiss. Story time. Yeah, story time. Have a good look, Valvera. Okay. I'm gonna take a sip of my water, not my gamer subs, my water. I'm gonna put my water up here actually, because I feel like it's gonna fall down. And anyone else, if you like G-subs, there's my code right there. And my link, you can just use the link and it should apply the code that way as well. I'm drinking right now Buff Pups apple one. Me and Fluffy got the same flavor and I was like, I gotta drink some more of that before I run out. Before they run out. Before I do. It's really good. It's one of my latest favorites. It's tea and apple. So good. Gundams, but I also collect Transformers. Oh, it's Transformers. It involves orange juice. It's like sparkling OJ agua fresca, but I don't usually make mine with carbonated water. Oh, I love a good... My favorite agua fresca is the tamarindo one. I love tamarind agua fresca. It's so good. It is so good. It has that sweetness, but it has like an earthiness to it. Kind of makes me think of like green tea. It's very good. Gundams collector. Hi, Envo. Okay. What are G-subs? Electrolytes, energy drink. Yes. So G-subs is a it's like a vitamin supplement type of beverage, energy drink, but you can get it non-caffeinated. She's got taste. Excellent choice. What do you mean? You mean the Buff Pup flavor? Oh, it's so good. It's one of my favorites. That one, good. And Kaho's Guilty Pleasure are like my 3 latest obsessions. They're so good. Transformers. Yeah. And G-subs actually has another flavor right now. One called blue and the other called lemon lime, which is it's a carotene, zero sugar, focus type of drink. Basically, it's supposed to help you like like it's a formula focused type of electrolyte drink. That's the closest I can think about it. You know what I mean? But it's really good. The agua frescas you mentioned, very good choices. Ooh, tamarind. For sure, for sure. I love a good tamarind. Okay. And just a reminder, if you guys would like to, you can watch from bed with your ASMR on the YouTube side, where it has the mobile version, so it's a long form like that. But otherwise, if you guys are at PC, if you guys can just open a tab and leave it open while I do the reading tonight. We are on chapter 15. The link is pinned to the top of chat. While I'm reading, I won't be looking at chat for a good portion of the time, but you guys are more than free to go ahead and write something and I will catch up with chat when I have a moment. So, let's go ahead and let's read. Chapter 15, Dr. Seward's Diary. For a while, sheer anger mastered me. It was as if he had during her life struck Lucy on the face. I smote the table hard and rose up as I said to him, Dr. von Helsing, are you mad? He raised his head and looked at me, and somehow the tenderness of his face calmed me once more. Would I were, he said, madness were easy to bear compared with the truth like this. Oh, my friend, why, you think, did I go so far round? Why take so long to tell you so simple a thing? Was it because I hate you, and have hated you all my life? Was it because I wished to give you pain? Was it that I wanted, now so late, revenge for that time when you saved my life, and from a feral death? Ah, no. Forgive me, said I. He went on. My friend, it was because I wished to be gentle in the breaking to you, for I knew you have loved that so sweet a lady. But even yet I do not expect you to believe. It is so hard to accept at once any abstract truth that we may doubt such should be possible when we have always believed the no of it. It is more hard still to accept so sad a concrete truth, and of such a tone as Miss Lucy. Tonight, I go to prove it. Dare you come with me? This staggered me. A man does not like to prove such a truth. Byron except from the category, jealousy, and prove the very truth he most abhorred. He saw my hesitation and spoke. The logic is simple. No madman's logic, just this time jumping from tussock to tussock in a misty bog. If it were not true, then proof will be relief. At worst, it will be no harm. But if it be true, there is the dread, yet very dread should help my cause, for in it is some need of disbelief. In need of it for some belief. Come, I tell you what I propose. First, that we go off now and see that child in the hospital. Dr. Vincent of the North Hospital, where the papers say the child is. A friend of mine, and I think of yours since we were in class of Amsterdam. He will let 2 scientists see his case. He will not let 2 friends. We shall tell him nothing, but only that we wish to learn, and then he took a key from his pocket and held it up. And then we spend the night, you and I, in the churchyard where Lucy lies. This is the key that locks the tomb. I had it from the coffin man to give to Arthur. My heart sank within me, for I felt that there was some fearful ordeal before us. I could do nothing, however, so I plucked up what heart I could and said that we had better hasten, as the afternoon was passing. JRK, thank you so much for the follow. And Need, thank you so much for the follow as well. Welcome in. The great for the kid legacy to promo. DNA wings. Ah, you said the bigger wings, right? Well, I hope you get them. We found the child awake. It had a sleep and taken some food, and altogether was going on well. Dr. Vincent took the bandage from its throat and showed us the punctures. There was no mistaking the similarity to those which had been on Lucy's throat. They were smaller, and the edges looked fresher. That was all. We asked Vincent to what he attributed to them, and he replied that it must have been a bite of some animal, perhaps a rat. But for his own part, he was inclined to think that it was only one of the bats which so numerous on the northern side of London. There are so many harmless ones, he said. There may be some wild specimen from the south, of a more malignant species. Some sailor may have brought one home. It managed to escape, or even from the zoological gardens. A young one may have got loose, or one be bred there from a vampire. These things do occur, you know. Only 10 days ago, a wolf got out and was, I believe, traced up in this direction. For a week after, the children were playing nothing but Red Riding Hood on the heath, and every day all the place until its Bloofer lady scare came along. Since when it has been quite a gala time with them. Even this poor little mite, when he woke up today, asked the nurse if he might go away. When she asked him why he wanted to go, he said he wanted to play with the blue-fur lady. I hope, said Van Helsing, that when you are sending the child home, you will caution his parents to keep strict watch over him. These fancies to stray are most dangerous, and if the child were to remain out another night, it would probably be fatal. But in any case, I suppose you would not let them away for some days? Certainly not. Not for a week at least. Longer if the wound is not healed. Our visit to the hospital took more time than we had reckoned, and the sun had dipped before we came out. When Van Helsing saw how dark it was, he said, "There is no hurry. It is more late than I thought. Come, let us seek somewhere that we may eat, then we shall go on our way." Give me 1 second. I'm going to do a quick BRB. I'm just going to walk away for a moment. I'm going to close my windows. It's very cold. Okay. Alright. We dined at Jack Straw's castle, along with a little crowd of bicyclists and others who were genially noisy. About 10 o'clock, we started from the inn. It was then very dark, and the scattered lamps made the darkness greater. When we were once outside their individual radius. The professor had evidently noted the road we were to go, for he went on unhesitatingly, but as for me, I was in quite a mix-up as to its locality. As we went further, we met fewer and fewer people, till at last we were somewhat surprised when we met even the patrol of horse police going their usual suburban round. At last, we reached the wall of the churchyard, which we climbed over, with some little difficulty, for it was very dark, and the whole place seemed so strange to us. We found there was stern a tomb. The professor took the key, opened the creaky door, and standing back, politely but quite unconsciously, motioned me to precede him. There was a delicious irony in the offer, and the courtliness of giving preference on such a ghastly occasion. My companion followed me quickly and cautiously drew the door to, after carefully ascertaining that the lock was a failing, and not a spring one. In the later case, we should have been in a bad plight, but then he fumbled in his bag and, taking out a matchbox, a piece of candle, proceeded to make it alight. The tomb in the daytime, and when we wreathed the fresh flowers, had looked grim and gruesome enough, but now, some days afterward, when the flowers hung lank and dead, their whites turning to rust and their greens to browns, when the spider and the beetle had resumed their accustomed dominance, when time-discolored stone and dust-encrusted mortar and rusty dank iron and tarnished brass and clouded silver plating gave back the feeble glimmer of a candle. The effect was more miserable and sordid than could have been imagined. It conveyed irresistibly that idea that life, animal life, was not the only thing which could pass away. Van Helsing went about his work systematically, holding his candle so that he could read the coffin plates, and so holding it that the sperm dropped in white patches. with congealed as they touched the metal. He's talking about the candle wax falling off the candle itself and onto. Wait, what? Yeah. 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 I was just like, wait. Don't worry. I paused too. So, if you're holding a candle, right, and you tilt it a little more like away from you, so that when the wax melts, it doesn't get onto your hand, so it drips down. So he's comparing the droplets of wax from the candle to sperm. So anyways, and so holding it so that the wax dropped in white patches which congealed as they touched the metal, he made assurance of Lucy's coffin. Another search in his bag, and he took out a turn screw. What are you going to do? I asked. To open the coffin. You shall yet be convinced. Straight away he began taking out the screws and finally lifted off the lid, showing the casing of lead beneath. The sight was almost too much for me. It seemed to be as much an affront to the dead as it would have been to have stripped off her clothing in her sleep whilst living. I actually took hold of his hand to stop him. He only said, "You shall see," and again fumbled with his bag, took out a tiny fret saw, striking the turn screw through the lead with a swift downward stab, which made me wince. He had made a small hole, which was, however, big enough to admit the point of the saw. I had expected a rush of gas from the weak old corpse. We doctors, who have had to study our dangers, have to become accustomed to such things. And I drew back towards the door. But the professor never stopped for a moment. He sawed down a couple of feet along one side of the lead coffin, and then across and down the other side, taking the edge of the loose flange. He bent it back towards the foot of the coffin and holding up the candle into the aperture motioned to me to look. I drew near and looked. The coffin was empty. It was certainly a surprise to me and gave me a considerable shock, but Van Helsing was unmoved. He was now more sure than ever of his ground and so emboldened to proceed in his task. "Are you satisfied now, friend John?" he asked. I felt all the dogged argumentatives of my nature awake within me as I answered him. "I am satisfied that Lucy's body is not in that coffin, but that only proves one thing." "And what is that, friend John?" "That it is not here." "That is good logic," he said, "so far as it goes. But how can you account for it not being there?" "Perhaps the body snatcher," I suggested. "Some of the Undertaker's people have stolen it." I felt that I was speaking folly, and yet it was the only real cause which I could suggest. The professor sighed. "Well," he said, "we must have more proof. Come with me." He put on the coffin lid again, gathered up all his things and placed them in the bag, blew out the candle and placed the candle also in the bag. We opened the door and went out. Behind us, he closed the door and locked it. He handed me the key, saying, "Will you keep it? You had better be assured." I laughed. It was not a very cheerful laugh, I am bound to say, as I motioned him to keep it. "A key is nothing," I said. "There may be duplicates, and anyhow, it is not difficult to pick a lock of that kind." He said nothing and put the key in his pocket. Then he told me to watch at one side of the churchyard whilst he would watch the other. I took up my place behind a yew tree and sat and saw his dark figure move until the intervening headstone and trees hid it from my sight. It was a lonely vigil. Just after I had taken my place, I heard a distant clock strike 12, and in time came 1 and 2. I was chilled and unnerved and angry with the professor for taking me on such an errand, with myself for coming. I was too cold and too sleepy to be keenly observant, and not sleepy enough to betray my trust, so altogether I had a dreary, miserable time. Suddenly, as I turned around, I thought I saw something like a white streak moving between two dark yews. on the side of the churchyard furthest from the tomb. At the same time, a dark mass moved from the professor's side of the ground and hurriedly went towards it. Then I too moved, but I had to go round headstones and railed off tombs, and I stumbled over graves. The sky was overcast, and somewhere far off an early cock crew. A little way off, beyond the line of scattered juniper trees which marked the pathway to the church, a white, dim figure flitted in the direction of the tomb. The tomb itself was hidden by trees, and I could not see where the figure disappeared. I heard the rustle of actual movement where I had first seen the white figure, and coming over, found the professor holding in his arms a tiny child. When he saw me, he held it out to me and said, "Are you satisfied now?" "No," I said in a way I felt was aggressive. "Do you not see the child?" "Yes, it is a child, but who brought it here? And is it wounded?" I asked. "We shall see," said the professor, and with one impulse we took our way out of the churchyard, he carrying the sleeping child. When we had gone some little distance away, we went to a clump of trees, struck a match, and looked at the child's throat. It was without a scratch or scar of any kind. Was I right? I asked triumphantly. "We were just in time," said the professor, thankfully. We had now decided what we were to do with the child, and so consulted about it. If we were to take it to the police station, we should have to give some account of our movements during the night. At least we should have had to make some statement as to how we had come to find the child. So finally, we decided that we would take it to the heath, and when we heard the policeman coming, we would leave it where we could not fail to find it. Then we would seek our way home as quickly as we could. All fell out well. At the edge of Hampstead Heath, we heard a policeman's heavy tramp, and laying the child on the pathway, we waited and watched until he saw it and flashed his lantern to and fro. We heard his exclamation of astonishment, and then we went away silently. By good chance, we got a cab near the Spaniards and drove to town. I cannot sleep, so I make this entry, but I must try to get a few hours' sleep, as Van Helsing is to call for me at noon. He insists that I shall go with him on another expedition. Here I was just hoping that sperm was just a generalized word for white liquid, but no, he's just comparing the two. He waited for hours, right? Because they left the inn at 10. Yeah, 10 o'clock. I'm guessing let's say they left the inn at 10 o'clock after dinner, right? They went to the courtyard around 11, and then they opened the tomb around that time. And then he waited for a while, and it was 2 o'clock by the time they saw the white figure and found the child. So yeah, he was there for a good long time. But good thing nothing happened. I think it's weird though, right? Bram Stoker keeps referring to children as it instead of he, she, you know? They keep saying the child. Is it okay? You're like, bro, just say, is the child okay? Like, you're referring to a child as an it? Excuse me. An hour walk, hours search, 2 hours waiting, and likely hours longer due to the sound of the chicken. True. Well, they said it was early, so probably closer to 3. You know what I mean? Probably closer to 3. Alright. Wawa time. And then, alright. 27th of September. It was 2 o'clock before I found a suitable opportunity for our attempt. The funeral held at noon was all completed, and the last stragglers of the mourners had taken themselves lazily away when, looking carefully from behind a clump of alder trees, we saw the sexton lock the gate after him. We knew, then, that we were safe till morning, did we desire it, but the professor told me that we should not want more than an hour at most. Again, I felt that horrid sense of the reality of things, in which any effort of imagination seemed out of place, and I realized, distinctively, the perils of the law which we were incurring in our unhallowed work. Besides, I felt it was all so useless, outrageous as it was to open a leaden coffin to see if a woman dead nearly a week were really dead. It now seemed the height of folly to open the tomb again, when we knew from the evidence of our own eyesight that the coffin was empty. I shrugged my shoulders, however, and rested silent. For Van Helsing had a way of going on his own road no matter who remonstrated. He took the key, opened the vault, and again courteously motioned me to proceed. The place was not so gruesome as last night, but oh, how unutterably mean-looking when the sunshine streamed in. Van Helsing walked over to Lucy's coffin, and I followed. He bent over and again forced back the leaden fling. And then a shock of surprise and dismay shot through me. There lay Lucy, seemingly just as we had seen her the night before her funeral. She was, if possible, more radiantly beautiful than ever, and I could not believe that she was dead. The lips were red, nay, redder than before, and on the cheeks was a delicate bloom. "Is this a chuckle?" I said to him. "Are you convinced now?" said the professor in response. As he spoke, he put over his hand in a way that made me shudder, pulled back the dead lips, and showed the white teeth. "See," he went on, "see, they are even sharper than before. With this, and he touched one of the canine teeth that drew below it, the little children can be bitten. Are you of belief now, friend John?" Once more, argumentative hostility woke within me. I could not accept such an overwhelming idea as he suggested so. With an attempt to argue, of which I was even at the moment ashamed, I said, "She may have been placed here since last night." "Indeed, that is so. And by whom?" "I do not know. Someone has done it. And yet she has been dead 1 week. Most people in that time would not look so." I had no answer to this, was so silent. Van Helsing did not seem to notice my silence. At any rate, he showed neither chagrin nor triumph. He was looking intently at the face of the dead woman, raising the eyelids and looking at the eyes, and once more opening the lips and examined the teeth. Then he turned to me and said, "Here, there is one thing which is different from all recorded. Here, in some dual life that is not uncommon, she was bitten by the vampire when she was in trance, sleepwalking. Oh, you start, you do not know that, friend John, but you shall know it all later. And in trance, could he best come to take more blood? In trance she died, and in trance she is undead, too. So it is that she differ from all other. Usually, when the undead sleep at home," as he spoke, he made a comprehensive sweep of his arm to designate what to a vampire was home. "The face shows what they are, but this is so sweet. That was when she was not undead. She go back to the nothings of the common dead. There is no malign here, see, and so it make hard that I must kill her in her sleep." This turned my blood cold, and it began to dawn upon me that I was accepting Van Helsing's theories. But if she were really dead, what was there of terror in the idea of killing her? He looked up at me, and evidently saw the change in my face, for he said almost joyously, Ah, you believe me now, I answered. Do not press me too hard all at once. I am willing to accept. How will you do this bloody work? I shall cut off her hand and fill her mouth with garlic. I shall drive a stake through her body. It made me shudder to think of so mutilating the body of the woman whom I loved, and yet the feeling was not so strong as I had expected. I was, in fact, beginning to shudder at the presence of this being, this undead, as Van Helsing called it, and to loathe it. It is possible that love is all subjective, or all objective. I waited a considerable time for Van Helsing to begin, but he stood as if wrapped in thought. Presently, he closed the catch of his bag with a snap and said, I have been thinking, and I have made up my mind as to what is best. If I did simply follow my inclining, I would do now, at this moment, what is to be done. But there are other things to follow, and things that are 1,000 times more difficult in that them we do not know. This is simple. She have yet no life taken, though that is of time, and to act now would be to take danger from her forever. But then we may have to want Arthur. And how shall we tell him of this? If you, who saw the wound on Lucy's throat and saw the wound so similar to the child's at the hospital, if you, who saw the coffin empty last night and fooled today with the woman who have not changed only to be more rose and more beautiful in a whole week after she died, if you know this, and know of the white figure last night that brought the child to the churchyard, and yet, if your own senses you do not believe, how then can I expect Arthur, who knows none of those things, to believe? He doubted me when I took him from her kiss when she was dying. I know he has forgiven me because, in some mistaken idea, I have done things that prevent him saying goodbye as he ought. And he may think that in some more mistaken idea this woman is buried alive, and that, and most mistake of all, we have killed her. He will then argue back that it is we, mistaken ones, that have killed her by our ideas, and so he will be much unhappy always. Yet he never can be sure, and that is the worst of all. And he will sometimes think that she loved, and so he will sometimes think that she he loved was buried alive, and that will paint his dreams with horrors of what she must have suffered. And again, he will think that we may be right, and that his so beloved was, after all, an undead. No, I told him once, and since then I learned much. Now, since I know it is all true, 100,000 times more do I know that he must pass through the bitter waters to reach the sweet. He, poor fellow, must have 1 hour that will make the very face of heaven grow black to him. Then he will act for good all around and send him peace. My mind is made up. Let us go. You return home tonight to your asylum and see that all be well. As for me, I shall spend the night here in this churchyard in my own way. Tomorrow night, you will come to me. Tomorrow night, you will come to me to the Berkeley Hotel at 10 o'clock. I shall send for Arthur to come too, and also that so fine young man of American that gave his blood. Later, we shall all have work to do. I come with you so far as Piccadilly, and there to dine, for I must be back here before the sunset. So, we locked the tomb and came away, and got over the wall of the churchyard, which was not much of a task, and drove back to Piccadilly. Imagine just because they're like bachelors who have no experience with children. Personally, I think it's cute, but I do understand the dehumanizing view. Hi, Rain. How are you, beautiful? How's your night? They're just like, what do we do? Right. Hello to you too. Hi, Yuda. How's your night? How are you doing? You're doing good? Having good time? Okay. I mean, I understand what Van Helsing is saying, where if they did what he said they needed to do, remove her head, stuff it with garlic, and then stake her heart. If they did that, I would completely understand. The Amethyst Dragon. Hi, welcome and thanks for the follow. How are you, sweetling? But for them, like, why would Arthur need to see her? You know what I mean? Like, why would Arthur, her fiance, need for her to come, I guess, come back, right? To see that she's dead. You know what I mean? Like, why would he see that they did those things to her? It's such a weird idea. They're just like, well, I can't destroy the undead creature right now, because what if Arthur finds out and then he's going to question me? Why would Arthur find out? For all he knows, Lucy's gone and she's not coming back, right? Like, in his like brain, or in his reality, Lucy's just gone. This is what I need. Do you like reading streams? They want to show Arthur she's a vampire first? Yeah, but why? You know, like, what do they need to show her? Hi, reading lady. Thank you for the care package. Everybody, we're going to do care package together. So if you're at your desk, sit up, tilt your head to the left, and tilt your head to the right. Look up, and look down. Sit up and drink some wawa. And if you're at your desk, sit up, if you're in bed, go ahead, take a deep breath, and exhale, and the spin round. How are you, reading lady? How's your night? We are reading Dracula. If you guys would like to join us, the book is pinned to the top of chat. We are on chapter 15, and we are at the part where it says, note left by Van Helsing and his portmanteau, Berkeley Hotel, directed to John Seward, MD. That's where we are. Please forgive me, this is what I need to sleep. Thank you so much. Of course. No, definitely lay down and get some good rest. Take it easy. It's reading night. We read every Tuesday, and we are currently reading Dracula. You can find all my VODs to the story on my YouTube channel. If you want to catch up that way, you're more than welcome to. Okay. Let's see. Note left by Van Helsing in his portmanteau. Berkeley Hotel, directed to John Seward, MD, not delivered. 27th of September. Friend John, I write this in case anything should happen. I go alone to watch that churchyard. It pleases me that the undead Miss Lucy shall not leave tonight, that so on the morrow night she may be more eager. Therefore I shall fix some things she like not, garlic and a crucifix, and so seal up the door of the tomb. She is young as undead, and will heed. Moreover, these are only to prevent her coming out. They may not prevail on her wanting to get in, for then the undead is desperate, and must find the line of least resistance, whatsoever it may be. I shall be at the hand at the night from sunset till after sunrise, and if there be aught that may be I learned, I shall learn it, for Miss Lucy, or from her. I have no fear, but that other to whom there is that she is undead, he have now the power to seek her tomb and find shelter. He is cunning, as I know from Mr. Jonathan, and from the way that all along he have fooled us when he played with us for Miss Lucy's life. And we lost, and in many ways the undead are strong. He have always the strength in his hand of 20 men, even we 4 who gave our strength to Miss Lucy. It also is all to him. Besides, he can summon his wolf, and I know not what. So if it be that he come hither, on this night he shall find me, and none other shall until it be too late. But it may be that he will not attempt the place. There is no reason why he should. His hunting ground is more full of game than the churchyard where the undead women sleep, and the one old man watch. Therefore, I write this in case. Take the papers that are with this, the diaries of Harker, and the rest, and read them, and then find this great undead, and cut off his head, and burn his heart, or drive a stake through it, so that the world may rest from him. If it be so, farewell. Van Helsing. Thank you. Sleepy story time for me. Okay, have a good rest. Story for sleep time for ASMR. Oh, I do stories every Tuesday. To enjoy the comfy stream. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the hug. Not holy shit. Sloth is trying to break my ribs. Damn, Sloth. Why are you trying to break my ribs, bro? I must squeeze you. Do it. Right now. I'm right here. Dr. Seward, 28th of September. It is wonderful what a good night's sleep will do for one. Yesterday I was almost willing to accept Van Helsing's monstrous idea, but now they seem to start out lurid before me as outrages on common sense. I have no doubt that he believes it all. I wonder if his mind can have become in any way unhinged. Surely there must be some rational explanation of all these mysterious things. Is it possible that the professor can have done it himself? If he is so abnormally clever that he went off his head, he would carry out his intent with regard to some fixed idea in a wonderful way. I am loath to think it, and indeed it would be almost as great a marvel as the other to find that Van Helsing was mad. But anyhow, I shall watch him carefully. I may get some light on the mystery. 29th September, morning. Working out, 36. We went from 91 to 36. Thank you, Sloth. 29th September, morning. Last night, at a little before 10 o'clock, Arthur and Quincy came into Van Helsing's room. He told us all what he wanted us to do, but especially addressing himself to Arthur as if our wills were centered in his. He began by saying what he hoped we would all come with him to, for, he said, there was a grave duty to be done there. You are doubtless surprised at my letter. This query was directly addressed to Lord Godalming. It rather upset me for a bit. There's been so much trouble around my house of late that I could do without any more. I've been curious too as to what you mean. Quincy and I talked it over, but the more we talked, the more puzzled we got, till now I can say for myself that I'm up a tree as to any meaning about anything. Me too, said Quincy Morris, laconically. Oh, said the professor, then you are nearer the beginning, both of you. That friend John here, who has to go a long way back before he can even get to far as to begin. It was evident that he recognized me returning to my old doubting frame of mind without my saying a word. Then, turning to the other two, he said with intense gravity, I want your permission to do what I think is good at this point. What is good this night? It is, I know, much to ask, and when you know what it is I propose to do, you will know. You will know, and only then, how much. Therefore, may I ask that you promise me in the dark, so that afterwards, though you may be angry with me for a time, I must not disguise from myself the possibility that such be. You shall not blame yourselves for anything. That's frank, anyhow, broke in Quincy. I'll answer for the professor. I don't quite see his drift, but I swear he's honest, and that's good enough for me. I thank you, sir, said Van Helsing proudly. I've done myself the honor of counting you one trusting friend, and such endorsement is dear to me. He held out a hand, which Quincy took. Then Arthur spoke out. Dr. Van Helsing, I don't quite like to buy a pig in a poke, as they say in Scotland. And if be anything in which my honour as a gentleman or my faith as a Christian is concerned, I cannot make a promise. If you can assure me that what you intend does not violate either of these two, then I give my consent at once. Though for the life of me, I cannot understand what you are driving at. I accept your limitation, said Van Helsing, and I ask of you, and all I ask of you is that if you feel it necessary to condemn any act of mine, you will first consider it well and be satisfied that it does not violate your reservations. Agreed, said Arthur. That is only fair. And now that the pourparlers are over, I don't know what that is, are over, I ask what it is we are to do. I want you to come with me, and come in secret to the churchyard at Kingstead. Arthur's face fell as he said in an amazed sort of way, Where poor Lucy is buried. The professor bowed. Arthur went on, and went there to enter the tomb. Arthur stood up. Professor, you are in earnest, or some monstrous joke? Pardon me, I see that you are in earnest. He sat down, but I could see that he sat firmly and proudly, as one who was on his dignity. There was silence until he asked again, and when in the tomb, to open the coffin. This is too much, he said angrily, rising again. I'm willing to be patient in all things that are reasonable, but this desecration of the grave of one who... He fairly choked with indignation. The professor looked pityingly at him. If I could spare you one pang, my poor friend, he said, God knows I would. But this night our feet must tread on thorny paths, or later, and forever the feet you love must walk the path of flame. Arthur looked up with set white face and said, Take care, sir, take care. Would it not be well to hear what I have to say? Said Van Helsing, and then you will at least know the limit of my purpose. Shall I go on? That's fair enough, broke in Mr. Morris. After a pause, Van Helsing went on, evidently with an effort. Miss Lucy is dead. Is it not so? Yes. Then there can be no wrong to her. But if she not be dead... Arthur jumped to his feet. Good God, he cried. What do you mean? Has there been any mistake? Has she been buried alive? He groaned in anguish that not even hope could soften. I did not say that she was alive, my child. I did not think it. I go no further than to say that she might be undead. Undead. Not alive. What do you mean? Is this all a nightmare, or what is it? There are mysteries which men can only guess at, which age by age they may solve only in part. Believe me, we are now on the verge of one, but I have not done. May I cut off the head of Miss Lucy? Heavens and earth, no, cried Arthur in a storm of passion. Not for the wide world will I consent to any mutilation of her dead body. Dr. Van Helsing, you try me too far. What have I done to you that you should torture me so? What did that poor sweet girl do to you, should you want to cast such dishonour on her grave? Are you mad to speak such things, or am I mad to listen to them? Don't dare to think more of such a desecration. I shall not give my consent to anything you do. I have a duty to do in protecting her grave from outrage, and, by God, I shall do it. Van Helsing rose up from where he had all the time been seated and said gravely and sternly, My Lord Godalming, I too have a duty to do, a duty to others, a duty to you, a duty to the dead, and by God I shall do it. All I ask now, that you come with me, and that you look and listen, and if then later I make the same request, you do not be more eager for its fulfillment even than I am, then I shall do my duty, whatever it may seem to be, and then, to follow your lordship's wishes, I shall hold myself at your disposal to render an account to you, when and where you will. His voice broke a little, and went on with a voice full of pity. But I beseech you, Do not go forth in anger with me. And a long life of acts were often not pleasant to do, and which sometimes did wring my heart. I never had so heavy a task as now. Believe me, that if the time comes for you to change your mind towards me, one look from you will wipe away all this so sad hour, for I would do what a man can to save you from sorrow. Just think, for why should I give myself so much of labour and so much of sorrow? I have come here from my own land, and do what I can of good, at the first to please my friend John, and then to help a sweet young lady whom I too came to love. For her I am ashamed to say so much, but I say it in kindness. I gave what you gave, the blood of my veins. I gave it, I who was not like you, her lover, but only her physician and her friend. I gave to her my nights and days before death, after death, and if my death can do her good even now, that when she is the dead undead, she shall have it freely. He said this with a very grave, sweet pride, and Arthur was much affected by it. He took the old man's hand and said in a broken voice, "Oh, it is hard to think it, and I cannot understand, but at least I go with you and wait." Hi Cooper, welcome in, welcome in. Have a good lurk. Thank you so much for coming on in. Okay, we're gonna do a quick break before we go into the next chapter. I'm gonna go to the bathroom and I'll be right back. And we'll continue the story. We'll continue on chapter 16. Let me just update this really quick. There it is. We're on chapter 16. All right, and we'll be right back. Okay. And I'm back. Did you guys send up? Did you guys go to your after stream care? For anyone who rated and is still here. Weba, Weba, hi Nipa. I walked around a little bit, and we had carne asada for dinner. So I had a carne asada salad with cucumber and tomato and olives. And then, hi Bone Walker, how are you? Yeah, so we are reading Dracula right now. I did see your message. Bram Stoker, a classic. Yeah, we're doing, so we do reading club every Tuesday, and we are in the middle of reading Dracula. We're on chapter 16. We just ended 15. We're about a little past halfway through the book. I believe we have, let's see, we're in 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We have 11 more chapters to go. And then when we get to closer to the end, I usually try and do at least 2 chapters. Sometimes the chapters go by very quickly, and I can do 3, but I usually try and do 2 at least. But I usually have chat help me pick a book, and chat picked Dracula. I have some ideas of what I want to do for the next one. I was thinking I picked Pride and Prejudice first, and then you guys picked Dracula. Excuse me. So I was thinking do another, obviously another classic. Maybe something like, so my friend Stir is doing Treasure Island, and I was thinking something, an adventure like that, right? I was thinking something like that, but we'll see. I have a couple of ideas. Maybe Alice. Ooh, should that be the next book? Alice in Wonderland? Oh, that'd be a good one. I got my tacos and beer. Ooh, okay. I've read Dracula at least 15 times. It never gets old. The intricacies of the language always leaves me more to be discovered. I love reading. Same. I've been doing a lot more reading lately. I try to end my night with reading something, so it's been really nice. Hi, Fractured. Welcome in. How are you? How's your night? Hope you're doing good. Okay, let's go ahead. Ooh, that was my neck. Oh, big cracks. Always a good habit. Yeah, I like reading. Alice in Wonderland American or British story? I think it's British. I'm pretty sure it's British. And Bram Stoker, I believe, is American. I think. Is he? Let's look it up. Bram Stoker. Irish. He was Irish. Oh. Okay. I see. Okay. Doing good. Gotta watch Favorite Siren. Oh, good. Yeah, so tonight is reading night. We're on chapter 16. I'm just doing a little bit of like, I should have stretched out more when I stood up. Who'd have thunk it? Honestly, I thought he was American. But I guess Irish kind of makes sense too. Oh, okay. Shoulders are stretched out. I am well hydrated. Ow. That hurt. I thought he was British. Honestly, fair. Very, very fair. But no, apparently he's Irish. But yeah. Okay. Let's Let's go into chapter 16. Chapter 16, Dr. Seward's Diary, continued. It was just a quarter before 12 o'clock when we got into the churchyard over the low wall. The night was dark, with occasional gleams of moonlight between the rents of the heavy clouds that scudded across the sky. We all kept somehow close together, with Von Helsing slightly in front as he led the way. But when we had come close to the tomb, I looked well at Arthur, for I feared the proximity to the place laden with so sorrowful a memory would upset him. But he bore himself well. I took it that the very mystery of the proceeding was in some way a counter to his grief. The professor unlocked the door, and seeing a natural hesitation among us for various reasons, solved the difficulty by entering first himself. The rest of us followed, and he closed the door. He then lit a dark lantern and pointed to the coffin. Arthur stepped forward, hesitantly. Von Helsing said to me, "You were with me here yesterday. Was the body of Miss Lucy in that coffin?" It was. The professor turned to the rest, saying, "You hear, and yet there is no one who does not believe with me." He took his screwdriver and again took off the lid off the coffin. Arthur looked on, very pale but silent. When the lid was removed, he stepped forward. He evidently did not know that there was a leaden coffin, or at any rate, had not thought of it. When he saw the rent in the lead, the blood rushed on his face in an instant, but he quickly fell away again, so that he remained a ghastly whiteness. He was still silent. Von Helsing forced back the lid and fling, and we all looked on and recoiled. The coffin was empty. For several minutes no one spoke a word. The silence was broken by Quincy Morris. "Professor, I answered for you. Your word is all I want. I wouldn't ask such a thing ordinarily. I wouldn't dishonor you to imply a doubt, but this is a mystery that goes beyond any honor or dishonor. Is this your doing? I swear to you, by all that holds sacred, that I do not remove nor touched her. What happened was this. 2 nights ago, my friend Seward and I came here with good purpose, believe me. I opened that coffin, which was then sealed up, and we found it, as now, empty. When we waited, we saw something white come across the trees. The next day we came here in daytime, and she lay there. Did she not, friend John?" "Yes. That night we were just in time. One more so small child was missing, and we find it, thank God, unharmed amongst the graves. Yesterday I came here before sundown, for at sundown the undead can move. I waited here all the night till the sun rose, but I saw nothing. It was most probable that it was because I had laid over the clamps of those doors garlic, which the undead cannot bear, the other things which they shun. Last night there were no exodus, so tonight, before the sundown, I took away my garlic and other things, and so it is we find this coffin empty. But bear with me. So far there is much that is strange. Wait till you with me outside, unseen and unheard, and things much stranger are yet to be. So," here he shut the dark side of the lantern, "now to the outside." He opened the door, and we filed out, he coming last and locking the door behind him. Ah, but it seemed fresh and pure in the night air after the terror of that vault. How sweet it was to see the clouds race by and the passing gleams of the moonlight between the scuttling clouds crossing and passing, like the gladness and sorrow of a man's life. How sweet it was to breathe the fresh air that had no taint of death and decay. How humanizing to see the red light of the sky beyond the hill, and to hear far away the muffled roar that marks the life of a great city. Each in his own way was solemn and overcome. Arthur was silent, and was, I could see, striving to grasp the purpose and the inner meaning of the mystery. I was myself tolerably patient and half inclined again to throw aside the doubt and to accept Van Helsing's conclusions. Quincy Morris was phlegmatic in the way of a man who accepts all things and accepts them in the spirit of cool bravery with hazard of all he has at stake. Not being able to smoke, he cut himself a good-sized plug of tobacco and began to chew. As to Van Helsing, he was employed in a different way. First, he took from his bag a mass of what looked like thin, wafer-like biscuits, which was carefully rolled up in a white napkin. Next, he took out a double handful of some whitish stuff, like dough or putty. He crumbled the wafer up fine and worked it into a mass between his hands. This he took then and rolled it into thin strips, began to lay them to the crevices between the door and the setting of the tomb. I was somewhat puzzled at this, and being close, asked him what it was he was doing. Arthur and Quincy drew near also, as they were too curious. He answered, "I'm closing the tomb so that the undead may not enter." "Is that stuff you have put on there going to do it?" asked Quincy. "Great Scott, is this a game?" "It is." "What is that which you are using this time?" questioned Arthur. Van Helsing reverently lifted his hat as he answered. "Angel Sane! Angel, thank you so much for the raid. Welcome in, welcome in. How was stream? How did it go? Welcome on in, raiders. Welcome to your favorite cafe. I'm Mukia. I'm a siren with a narcotic affliction, and I run a cafe. If you guys would like a drink, I could do tea, boba, coffee, hot cocoa. However, the cake is extra unless it's your birthday. Then you get a free piece. But welcome in, Angel. Hopefully had a good stream. If you need to raid and run, I completely understand. But if you want to lurk and hang out, you're more than welcome to. We are currently reading Dracula, so it's a perfect time for you to get nice and cozy, and I read the story to you. We are on chapter 16. If you want to follow along, I did pin the book to the top of the page. It was very good. Good. Hi, Worst. Welcome in. Mandataris and Mothy Games, thank you so much for the follow, sweetlings. Welcome in. How are you? How's your night? Bombiro, welcome in. How are you? Thank you for the coffee order. Hopefully you guys are having a good one. If you guys want to get comfy and just kind of like listen to me read, you're more than welcome to. I'm glad you guys are having fun. I love reading, and so being able to like read to you guys and with you guys is so much fun. If it's easy for you guys to listen to the ASMR, I am live over my YouTube site as well. I know it's more accommodating for phones. Thank you for the headpet, Envo. Only if you guys would like to. I do go live over there at the same time I stream here, and all my VODs are over there. So if you guys would like to follow, I would really welcome new followers, or if you just want to keep the tab open, that's okay with me too. Is 12 tacos too many? Would you leave me if I said asking for a friend? It depends. How big are the tacos? Are they those like small street-sized tacos that are like the size of your palm? Or are they like the really big ones from like Del Taco that are like the size of your hand? You know, like from like middle fingertip all the way down to your wrist. Are they that big? Or are they like the little tiny ones? If they're the tiny ones, I'm gonna say no. 12 tacos is technically just 6 tacos, and I think 6 tacos and only tacos and nothing else is pretty reasonable. Granted, if there's no rice or beans, if it's just like meat, lettuce, and tomato and salsa. Stand and stuffed crunchy shells packed full. Oh, those ones are pretty big. 12. I still want to say no, only because each person's body is different, and if they're a bodybuilder or if they're someone who works out a lot or has a very physically demanding job, then 12 doesn't seem so bad, you know? But yeah, that's completely up to them. Okay, we're gonna do a quick stretch. Hi Philip, welcome in. Drink some wawa. And get back into the story. Doing my job as a mechanic and getting another 6. Okay. I mean, I would say a mechanic is a pretty physically demanding job, right? Because you burn a lot of calories doing all the work that you have to do, you know? I'm just saying, I don't think it's a bad thing. All right. What is it that you are using? This time, the question was by Arthur. Von Helsing reverently lifted his hat as he answered. The host. I brought it from Amsterdam. I have an indulgence. It was an answer that appalled the most skeptical of us, and we felt, individually, in the presence of such an earnest purpose as the professor's, a purpose which could thus use the to him most sacred of things. That's a weird way of saying that. It was possible, so it is impossible to distrust. In respectful silence, we took the places assigned to us closed around the tomb, but hidden from the sight of anyone approaching. I pitied the others, especially Arthur. I had myself been apprehended by my former visits to this watching horror, and yet I, who had up to an hour ago repudiated the proofs, felt my heart sink within me. Never did tombs look so ghastly white. Never did cypress or yew or juniper so seem the embodiment of funeral gloom. Never did tree or grass wave or rustle so ominously. Never did bough creak so mysteriously, and never did the faraway howling of dogs send a woeful passage through the night. There was a long spell of silence, a big, aching void, and then from the professor a keen "sss." He pointed, and far down the avenue of yews he saw a white figure advance. A dim white figure which held something dark at its breast. The figure stopped, and in that moment a ray of moonlight fell upon the masses of driving clouds and showed in startling prominence a dark-haired woman dressed in the cremants of the grave. We could not see her face, for it was bent down over what we saw to be a fair-haired child. There was a pause and a sharp little cry as the child gives in sleep, or a dog as it lies before the fire and dreams. We were starting forward, but the professor we were starting forward, but the professor's warning hand, seen by us as he stood behind a yew tree, kept us back. And then we looked at the white figure moved forwards again. It was now near enough for us to see clearly, and the moonlight still held. My own heart grew cold as ice, and I could hear the gasp of Arthur as we recognized the features of Lucy Westerna. Lucy Westerna, but yet somehow changed. The sweetness had turned to adamantine, heartless cruelty, and the purity to voluptuous wantonness. Von Helsing stepped out, and obediently to his gesture, we all advanced too. The 4 of us ranged in a line before the door of the tomb, and that this stream had trickled over her chin and before the tomb, Von Helsing raised his lantern and drew the slide. By the concentrated light that fell on Lucy's face, we could see that the lips were crimson with fresh blood, and the stream had trickled over her chin and stained the purity of her lawn death robe. We shuddered with horror. I could see by the tremendous light that Von Helsing's iron nerve had failed. Arthur was next to me, and if I had not seized his arm and held him up, he would have fallen. When Lucy, I call the thing that was before us Lucy, because it bore her shape, saw us, she drew back with an angry snarl, such as a cat gives when taken unawares. Then her eyes ranged over us. Lucy's eyes in form and color, but Lucy's eyes unclean and full of hellfire, instead of the pure, gentle orbs we knew. At that moment, the remnant of my love passed into hate and loathing, and she then, to be killed, I could have done it with a savage delight. As she looked, her eyes blazed with unholy light, and the face became wreathed with voluptuous smile. Oh God, how it made me shudder to see it. With a careless motion, she flung to the ground, careless and evil, the child that up to now she had clutched strenuously to her breast, growling over it as a dog growls over a bone. The child gave a sharp cry and lay there, moaning. There was a cold-bloodedness in the act which wrung a groan from Arthur when she advanced to him with outstretched arms and a wanton smile. He fell back and hid his face in his hands. Still, she advanced, however with a languorous, voluptuous grace, said, "Come to me, Arthur. Leave these others and come to me. My arms are hungry for you. Come, and we can rest together. Come, my husband, come." There was something diabolically sweet in her tones, something of the tingling of glass when struck, which rang through the brains even to us who heard the words addressed to another. As for Arthur, he seemed under a spell. Moving his hands from his face, he opened wide his arms. She was leaping for them when Van Helsing sprang forward and held between them his little golden crucifix. She recoiled from it and, with a suddenly distorted face full of rage, dashed past him as if to enter the tomb. When within a foot or two of the door, however, she stopped, as if arrested by some irresistible force. Then she turned, and her face was shown in the clear burst of moonlight, and by the lamp, which had now no quiver from Van Helsing's iron nerves. Never did I see such baffled malice on her face, and never, I trust, shall such ever be seen again by mortal eyes. The beautiful color became livid. The eyes seemed to throw out sparks of hellfire, and brows were wrinkled as though the folds of the flesh were the coils of Medusa's snakes, and the lovely blood-stained mouth grew to an open square at the passion mask of the Greeks and Japanese. If ever a face meant death, if looks could kill, we saw it at that moment. And so, for a full half a minute, which seemed an eternity, she remained between the lifted crucifix and the sacred closing of her means of entry. Van Helsing broke the silence by asking Arthur, "Answer me, O friend, am I to proceed in my work?" Arthur threw himself on his knees and hid his face in his hands as he answered, "Do as you will, friend. Do as you will. There can be no horror like this evermore." And he groaned in spirit. Quincy and I simultaneously moved towards him and took his arms. We could hear the click of the closing lantern as Van Helsing held it down. Coming close to the tomb, he began to remove from the chinks some of his sacred emblem which he had placed there. We all looked on in horrified amazement as we saw, when he stood back, the woman with the corporeal body, as real at that moment as our own, passing in through the interstitiums where sacred a knife blade could have gone. We all felt a glad sense of relief when we saw the professor calmly restoring the strings of putty to the edges of the door. When this was done, he lifted the child and said, "Come now, we friends, we can do no more till tomorrow. There is a funeral at noon, So here we shall all come before the long after that. The friends of the dead will all be gone by 2, and when the sexton lock the gate, we shall remain. Then there is more to do, but not like this of tonight. As for this little one, he is not much harm, and by tomorrow night he shall be well. We shall leave him where the police will find him, as on the other night, and then to home. Coming to a close, Arthur, he said, my friend Arthur, you have a sore trial, but after, when you look back, you will see how it was necessary. You are now in the bitter waters, my child, but this time tomorrow you will, please God, have passed them, and have drunk of the sweet waters. Do not mourn overmuch. Till then, I shall not ask you to forgive me. Arthur and Quincy came home with me, and we tried to cheer each other on the way. We had left the child in safety, and were tired, so we all slept with more or less realty of sleep. Would you, at this moment, if you were... Would I what? At this moment, if you were in Arthur's shoes. Would I go to Lucy's arms if she begged me like that? No, because I don't like Lucy. That's just the truth of it. I'm gonna move this to right here. That's better. I just never really liked her. She always seemed very stream crash. Or just me? Did it? You guys can hear me? It's back? We're back? Yeah, I didn't see anything happen on the Twitch side of things. Or sorry, on the YouTube side of things. So it was literally just Twitch. Twitch being weird. Huh. Interesting. It's kind of laggy though. Am I really bad? It's showing that the bitrate over on the Twitch side is pretty bad. But the YouTube side of things is okay? Huh. Interesting. It was just Twitch. It really fixed it for me. Oh, really? Minkus is here. Hi, Vera! Huh. There we go. I can have chat open over there. Twitch server issues? I think so, because I'm not having an issue over on YouTube, just on Twitch. Because I'm looking at my stats right now and it doesn't say that anything was dropped. Not on my side. Huh. Interesting. Is it still acting up? Well, refresh. Stream seems okay for now on Twitch. Okay. So it's okay now? That's weird. That's really weird. Let me... How do I... How do I pop out chat on YouTube again? I always forget this part. Pop out chat, there it is. I'm dumb. I'm blind. I'm just blind. I can see it. Alright, there we go. That way if anybody is over on the YouTube side, I can see your messages as well. There you go. Okay, that was weird. All good now? Okay. All good now. Okay, as long as we're good. Warhammer has banned staff from using artificial intelligence to design its miniature action figures in an effort to boost creativity. Good. Honestly, good. Good for them. As it should be. Alright. Do a quick stretch. Do not see the message box on YouTube. I do last stream I watched there either. Really? I mean, I have it. I popped it out. I'm looking right at it. That's weird. If I do this. Because I see anyone. Huh. I'll keep an eye on it. In case it takes a minute for... I mean, we've been live for a little bit, but I don't know. Yay, technology. Yay. Okay. I am going to go ahead and get back into the story. It looks like we might be able to get through 3 chapters tonight. We might be able to, because I don't think the next part is going to take me that long. Though yeah, we probably do 1 more chapter after this. Ad blocker. So tired. I'm not tired. I'm just trying to keep a little bit low energy, right? Because it is ASMR night. But yeah. All right. Let's get back into it. Oh goodness. All right. 29th of September. Night. A little before 12 o'clock, we three, Arthur, Quincy, Morris, and myself, Arthur, Quincy, Morris, and myself called for the professor. It was on to notice that by common consent, we had all put on black clothes. Of course, Arthur wore black, for he was in deep mourning, but the rest of us wore it by instinct. We got to the churchyard by 1:30 and strolled about, keeping out of official observation so that when the grave diggers had completed their task and the sexton, under the belief that everyone had gone, had locked the gate, we had the place all to ourselves. Von Helsing, instead of his little black bag, had with him a long leather one, something like a cricketing bag. It was manifestingly of fair weight. When we were alone and had heard the last of the footsteps die out up the road, we silently, and as if by ordered intention, followed the professor to the tomb. He unlocked the door, and we entered, closing it behind us. Then he took from his bag the lantern, which he lit, and also 2 wax candles which, when lighted, he struck by melting their own ends on other coffins, so that they might give light sufficient to work by. When he again lifted the lid off Lucy's coffin, we all looked. Arthur, trembling like an aspen, and saw that the body lay there in all its deathly beauty. But there was no love in my own heart, nothing but loathing for the foul thing which had taken Lucy's shape without her soul. I could see even Arthur's face grow hard as he looked. Presently, he said to Von Helsing, "Is that really Lucy's body, or only a demon in her shape? It is her body, and yet not it. But wait a while, and you all see her as she was, and is. She seemed like a nightmare of Lucy as she lay there. The pointed teeth, the blood-stained voluptuous mouth, which it made one shudder to see, the whole carnal and unspiritual appearance, seeming like a devilish mockery of Lucy's sweet purity. Von Helsing, with his usual methodicalness, began taking the various contents from his bag and placing them ready to use. First, he took out a soldering iron and some plumbing solder, and then a small oil lamp which gave out. When lift of the corner of the tomb, gas was burned and fierce heat with a blue flame. Then his operating knives, which he placed to hand, and last a round wooden stake, some 2.5 or 3 inches thick, and about 3 feet long. On one end it was hardened by charring in the fire, and was sharpened to a fine point. With this stake came a heavy hammer, such as in the households to use in the coal cellar for breaking the lumps. To me, a doctor's preparation for work of any were stimulating and bracing, but the effect of these things on both Arthur and Quincy was to cause them a sort of consternation. They both, however, kept the courage and remained silent and quiet. When all was ready, Von Helsing said, "Before we do anything, let me tell you this. It is out of the law and experience of the ancients and of all those who have studied the powers of the undead. When they become such, there comes with the change the curse of immortality. They cannot die, but must go on age after age, adding new victims and multiplying the evils of the world. For all that die from the preying of the undead becomes themselves undead and prey on their kind. And so the circle goes on ever widening, like as the ripples from the stone thrown in the water. Friend Arthur, if you had met that kiss which you know of before poor Lucy died, or again last night when you opened your arms to her, you would, in time, when you had died, had become Nosferatu, as they call it in the Eastern Europe, and would all time make more of those undead that so have filled us with horror. The career of this so unhappy dear lady has just begun. Those children whose blood she suck are not as yet so much the worse, but as she live on, undead, more and more they lose their blood, and by her power over them they come to her, and so she draw their blood with that so wicked mouth. But if she die in truth, then all cease, the tiny wounds of the throats disappear, and they go back to the place unknown ever of what has been. But to the most blessed of all, when this now undead be made to rest as true dead, then the soul of the poor lady whom we love shall be again free, instead of working wickedness by night and growing more debased in the assimilation of it by day. She shall take her place with other angels, so that, my friend, it would not be a blessed hand for her that shall strike the blow that set her free. To this I am willing, but is there none amongst us who has a greater right? Will it be no joy to think of hereafter in the silence of the night when sleep is not? It was my hand that sent her to the stars. It was the hand of him who loved her best, the hand that of all she herself have chosen, had it been to her to choose. Tell me if there be such a one amongst us." We all looked at Arthur. He saw, too, what we all did, the infinite kindness which suggested that his should be the hand which would restore Lucy to us as a holy and not an unholy memory. He stepped forward and said bravely, though his hand trembled and the face was as pale as snow. "My true friend, from the bottom of my broken heart I thank you. Tell me what I am to do, and I shall not falter." Van Helsing laid a hand on his shoulder and said, "Brave lad, a moment's courage, and it is done." Okay, there we go. "The stake shall be driven through her. It will be a fearful ordeal, be not deceived in that, but it will be only a short time, and you will then rejoice more than your pain was great. From this grim tomb you will emerge as though you tread on air, but you must not falter when once you have begun. Only think that we, your true friends, are round you, and that we pray for you all the time." "Go on," said Arthur hoarsely. "Tell me what I am to do." "Take this stake in your left hand, ready to place the point over the heart, and the hammer in your right. Then, when we begin our prayer for the dead, I shall read him. I have here the book, and the others shall follow. Strike in God's name, that so all be well in the dead that we love, and that the undead passes away." Arthur took the stake and the hammer, and once his mind was set on action, his hands never trembled or even quivered. Van Helsing opened his missal and began to read, and Quincy and I followed as well as we could. Arthur placed the point over the heart, and as I looked, I could see its dint in the white flesh. Then he struck with all his might. The thing in the coffin writhed, and a hideous, blood-curdling screech came from the opened red lips. The body shook and quivered and twisted in wild contortions. The sharp white teeth clamped together till the lips were cut and the mouth was smeared with the crimson foam. But Arthur never faltered. He looked like a figure of Thor as his untrembling arm rose and fell, driving deeper and deeper the mercy-bearing strike. Whilst the blood from the pierced heart welled and spurted up about it, his face was set, and high duty seemed to shine through it. The sight of it gave us courage, so that our voices seemed to ring through the little vault. And then the writhing and quivering of the body became less, and the teeth seemed to champ, and the face to quiver. Finally, it lay still. The terrible task was over. The hammer fell from Arthur's hand. He reeled and would have fallen had we not caught him. The great drops of sweat sprang from his forehead, and his breath came in broken gasps. It had indeed been an awful strain on him, and had he not been forced to his task by more than human considerations, he could never have gone through with it. For a few minutes we were so taken up with him that we did not look towards the coffin. When we did, however, a murmur of startled surprise rang from one of the other of us. We gazed so eagerly that Arthur rose, for he had been seated on the ground, and came to look too. And then a glad, strange light broke over his face, and dispelled altogether the gloom of horror that lay upon it. There, in the coffin, lay no longer the foul thing that we had so dreaded and grown to hate, that the work of her destruction was yielded as a privilege to the one best entitled to it, but Lucy, as we had seen her in her life, with her face of unequaled sweetness and purity. True that there were there, as there had seen them in life, the traces of care and pain and waste. But these were all dear to us, for they marked her truth for what we knew. One we had all felt, and the holy claim that lay like sunshine over the wasted face and form was only an earthly token and symbol of the calm that was to reign forever. Van Helsing came and laid his hand on Arthur's shoulder and said to him, "Now, Arthur, And now, Arthur, my friend, dear lad, am I not forgiven? The reaction of the terrible strain came as he took the old man's hand in his, and raising it to his lips, pressed it and said, "Forgiven. God bless you. You have given my dear one her soul again, and me peace." He put his hands on the professor's shoulders, and laying his head on his breast, cried for a while, silently, whilst he stood unmoving. When he raised his head, Van Helsing said to him, "And now, my child, you may kiss her. Kiss her dead lips, if you will, as she would have you do. If for her to choose, she is not a grinning devil now, not any more, a foul thing for all eternity. No longer she is the devil's undead. She is God's true dead, whose soul is with him." Arthur bent and kissed her, and then we sent him and Quincy out of the tomb. The professor and I sawed the top off the stake, leaving the point of it in the body. Then we cut off the head and filled the mouth with garlic. We soldered up the leaden coffin, screwed on the coffin lid, and gathered up our belongings, came away. When the professor locked the door, he gave the key to Arthur. Outside, the air was sweet. The sun shone, and the birds sang, and it seemed as if all nature were turned into a different pitch. There was gladness and mirth and peace everywhere, for we were at rest ourselves. On one account, we were glad, though it was a tempered joy. Before we moved away, Van Helsing said, "Now, my friends, one step of our work is done, one the most harrowing to ourselves. But there remains a greater task, to find out the author of all this, our sorrow, and to stamp him out. I have clues which we can follow, but it is a long task, and a difficult, and there is danger in it, and pain. Shall you not all help me? We have learned to believe, all of us. Is it not so? And since so, do we not see our duty? Yes. And do we not promise to go to the bitter end?" Each in turn, we took his hand, and the promise was made. Then said the professor, as we moved off, "2 nights hence you shall meet with me, and dine together at 7 o'clock with friend John. I shall entreat 2 others too, that you know not as yet, and I shall be ready to all our work, show and our path and our plans unfold. Friend John, you come with me home, for I have much to consult about, and you can help me. Tonight I leave for Amsterdam, and soon return tomorrow night, and there begins our great quest. But first, I shall have much to say, so that you may know what it is to do and to dread. Then a promise shall be made to each other anew, for there is a terrible task before us, and once our feet are on the plowshare, we must not draw back." That was chapter 16. We are now on chapter 17. Okay, let's update this really quick. There we go. Chapter 17. A little bit of a breather. Goodness, oh goodness. Arthur Holmwood, from Twerker of Sorrow to Vampire Slayewood. Vampire Slayer. Holmwood, it's Arthur. His name is very strange. Let's see. Arthur. Let's see. Is it Arthur Holmwood? I thought it was something else. Because they used Holmwood and something else. Arthur Holmwood, only son of Lord Godalming. Goldeming, because when Arthur's dad died, that's when he becomes the Lord. That's why I was a little confused. I was like, wait. That makes sense now. That makes sense now. Holmwood is his name, is his last name, but then because his father died, he is now the Lord. Now he is Lord Goldeming. Goldeming. Something like that, yeah. Dip down to dreamland. Have a good night, dry dog. Rest well. From twerker of sorrow to vampire slayer. Exactly. That's exactly what happened. Imagine. Okay. Let's see. What time is it right now? Ooh, we have another hour. Let's see. Can I do the next one in a straight hour? And then we can start on chapter 18. Oh yeah, no, definitely. I can finish this next chapter in an hour. Definitely. I weed pretty fast. I'm a pretty fast weeder. Oh, goodness. Oh, okay. And so far the bitrate on Twitch seems to be okay. That's good. Okay, that was really weird how it just like went down like that. Let's see, do I owe any care packages or kisses? Doesn't look like I do. We did that care package earlier. Alright, sweet. Looks like we are all good and up to date on our redeems. Okay. Drink some wawa, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to continue through chapter 17. All right. Chapter 17. Dr. Seward's diary continued. When we arrived at the Berkeley Hotel, Von Helsing found a telegram waiting for him. I'm coming by train. Jonathan at Whitby. Important news. Mina Harker. The professor was delighted. Ah, that wonderful Madam Mina, he said. Pearl amongst women. She arrived, but I cannot stay. She must go to your house, friend John. You must meet her at the station. Telegraph her en route so that she may be prepared. When the wire was dispatched, he had a cup of tea. Over it, he told me of a diary kept by Jonathan Harker when abroad, and gave me a typewritten copy of it, but also of the Miss Harker's diary at Whitby. Take these, he said, and study them well. When I have returned, you will be a master of all the facts, and we can then better enter our inquisition. Keep them safe, for there is in them much of treasure. You will need all your faith. Even you have had such an experience as that of today. What is here told? He laid his hand heavily and gravely on the packet of papers as he spoke. May be the beginning of the end to you and me and many other. Or it may sound the kell of the undead who walk the earth. Read all, I pray you, with the open mind, and if you can add in any way the story here told, do so, for it is all important. You have kept diary of all these so strange things, is it not so? Yes. Then we shall go tonight, all these together when we meet. He then made ready for his departure, and shortly after drove off to Liverpool Street. I took my way to Paddington, where I arrived about 15 minutes before the train came in. Really quick. Shin and Coxo, thanks for the follows earlier. I'm so sorry I didn't say hi earlier. How are you guys? Welcome in. The crowd melted away after the bustling fashion common to arrival platforms, and I was beginning to feel uneasy, lest I might miss my guest, when a sweetly faced, dainty-looking girl stepped up to me, and after quick glance I said, Dr. Seward, is it not? And you are Miss Harker, I answered at once, whereupon she held out her hand. I knew you from the description of poor dear Lucy, but... She stopped suddenly, and a quick blush overspread her face. The blush that rose to my own cheek somehow set us both at ease, for it was a tacit answer to her own. I got her luggage, which included a typewriter, and we took the underground to Fenchurch Street. After I had sent a wire to my housekeeper to have a sitting room and bedroom prepared at once for Miss Harker. In due time we arrived. She knew, of course, that the place was a lunatic asylum, but I could see that she was able to repress a shudder when we entered. She told me that, if she might, she would come presently to my study, as she had much to say. So here I am finishing my entry in the phonograph diary whilst I wait for her. As yet I have not had the chance of looking at the papers which Van Helsing left with me. Though they lie open for me, I must get her interested in something so that I may have an opportunity of reading them. She does not know how precious time is, or what a task we have in mind. I must be careful not to frighten her. Here she is. Nina Harker's journal, 29th of September. After I had tidied myself, I went down to Dr. Seward's study. At the door I paused for a moment, for I thought I heard him talking with someone. As, however, he pressed me to be quiet, I knocked at the door. As, however, he pressed me to be quick, I knocked at the door, and his calling out, "Come in," I entered. To my intense surprise, there was no one with him. He was quite alone, and on the table opposite him was what I knew at once from the description to be a phonograph. I had never seen one and was much interested. "I hope it did not keep you waiting," I said, "but I stayed at the doors as I heard you talking and thought there was someone with you." "Oh," he replied with a smile, "I was only entering my diary." Your diary?" I asked him in surprise. "Yes," he answered. "I keep it in this." As he spoke, he laid a hand on the phonograph. I felt quite excited over it and blurted out, "Why, this beats even shorthand. May I hear it say something?" "Certainly," he replied with electricity, and stood up to put it in train for speaking. Then he paused, and a troubled look overspread his face. "And the fact is," he began awkwardly, "I only keep my diary in it, and it is almost entirely, about my cases. It may be awkward, that is, he stopped and I tried to help him out of his embarrassment. "You helped to attend dear Lucy at the end. Let me hear how she died. For all that I know of her, I shall be very grateful. She was very, very dear to me." To my surprise, he answered with a horror-struck look on his face, "Tell you of her death? Not for the wide world." "Why not?" I asked, for some grave, terrible feeling was coming over me. Again he paused, and I could see that he was trying to invent an excuse. At length he stammered out, "You see, I do not know how to pick out a particular part of the diary." Even while he was speaking, an idea dawned upon me, and he said with an unconscious simplicity in a different voice, and with a naivete of a child, "That's quite true, upon my honor, honest Indian." I could not but smile, at which he grimaced. "I gave myself away that time," he said, "but do you know that, although I have kept my diary for past months, it never once struck me how I was going to find any particular part of it in case I wanted to look it up? But this time my mind was made up that the diary of a doctor who attended Lucy might have something to add to the sum of her knowledge of that terrible being, and I said boldly, "Then, Dr. Stewart, you had better let me copy it out of my typewriter." No, go back to this one. There you go. Sorry. I played Pokemon instead of going to sleep. Now it's 4 a.m. Oops. Thank you for the kiss. And thank you for the head pat. Where was I? There we go. Then, Dr. Stewart, you had better let me copy it out for you on my typewriter. He grew to a positively deathly pallor as he said, No, not for the world. I wouldn't let you know that terrible story. Then it was terrible. My intuition was right. For a moment I thought, and as my eyes ranged the room, unconsciously looking for something or some opportunity to aid me, they lit on a great batch of typewriting on the table. His eyes caught the look in mine and without thinking followed their direction. As I saw the parcel, he realized my meaning. You do not know me, I said. When you have read those papers, my own diary and my husband's also, which I have typed, you will know me better. I've not faltered in giving every thought of my own heart in this case, but of course you do not know me yet, and I must not expect you to trust me so far. He is certainly a man of noble nature. Poor dear Lucy was right about him. He stood up and opened a large drawer in which were arranged in order a number of hollow cylinders of metal covered with dark wax, and said, You are quite right. I did not trust you because I did not know you, but I know you now, and let me say that I should have known you long ago. I know that Lucy told me of you. I know that Lucy told you of me, and she told me of you too. May I make the only atonement in my power? Take the cylinders and hear them. The first half dozen of them are personal to me. They will not horrify you. Then you will know me better. Dinner will by then be ready. In the meantime, I shall read over some of these documents and shall be better able to understand certain things. He carried the phonograph himself to my sitting room and adjusted it for me. Now, I shall learn something pleasant, I am sure, for it will tell me of the other side of True Love's episode, of which I know one side already. Dr. Seward's Diary, 29th of September. So now it's going back and forth between Mina Harker's journal and Dr. Seward. So his first before meeting her, hers about the meeting, and now him after she's in her room listening to the phonograph of his recordings. Okay. 29th of September. I was so absorbed in that wonderful diary of Jonathan Harker, that the other of his wife, that I let the time run on without thinking. Miss Harker was not down when the maid came to announce dinner, so I said, She's possibly tired. Let dinner wait an hour, and I went on with my work. I had just finished Mrs. Harker's diary when she came in. She looked sweetly pretty, but very sad, and her eyes were flushed with crying. This somehow moved me much. Of late I have had cause for tears, God knows, but the relief of them was denied me, and now the sight of those sweet eyes brightened with recent tears went straight to my heart, so I said as gently as I could, I greatly fear I have distressed you. Oh no, not distressed me, she replied, but I have been more touched than I can say by your grief. That is a wonderful machine, but it is cruelly true. It told me, in its very tones, the anguish of your heart. It was like a soul crying out to Almighty God. No one must hear them speak ever again. See, I have tried to be useful. I have copied out the words on my typewriter, and none other need now hear your heartbeat as I did. No one need ever know, shall ever know, I said in a low voice. She laid her hand on mine and said very gravely, Ah, but they must. Must? But why? I asked. Because it is a part of the terrible story, a part of poor dear Lucy's death, and all that led to it, because in the struggle which we have before us rid the earth of this terrible monster, we must have all the knowledge and all the help which we can get. I think the cylinders which you gave me contained more than you intended me to know, but I can see that there are in your record many lights to this dark mystery. You will let me help, will you not? I know all up to a certain point, and I see already, though your diary only took me to 7th of September, how poor Lucy was beset, and how her terrible doom was being wrought out. Jonathan and I have been working day and night since Professor Van Helsing saw us. He is gone to Whitby to get more information, and he will be here tomorrow to help us. We need have no secrets amongst us, working together with an absolute trust. We can surely be stronger than if some of us were in the dark. She looked at me so appealingly, at the same time manifested such courage and resolution in her bearing that I gave in at once to her wishes. You shall, I said, do as you like in the matter. God forgive me if I do wrong. There are terrible things yet to learn of, but if you have so far travelled on the roads of poor Lucy's death, you will not be content, I know, to remain in the dark. Nay, in the end, the very end may give you a gleam of peace. Come, there is dinner. We must keep one another strong for what is before us. We have a cruel and dreadful task. When you have eaten, you shall learn the rest, and I shall answer any questions you ask. If there is anything which you do not understand, though it was apparent to us who were present. Jolardo, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome in, how are you? Mina Harker's journal, 29th of September, so the same exact day. This is all the same day, 29th of September, just like later in the day. After dinner, I came with Dr. Seward to his study. He brought back the phonograph from my room and took my typewriter. He placed me in a comfortable chair and arranged the phonograph so that I could touch it without getting up, and showed me how to stop it in case I should want to pause. Then he very thoughtfully took a chair with its back to me so that it might be as free as possible, and began to read. I put the forked metal to my ears and listened. What a terrible story of Lucy's death. And all that followed was done. I lay back in my chair, powerless. Fortunately, I'm not in a fainting disposition. When Dr. Seward saw me, he jumped up with a horrified exclamation and hurriedly taking a case bottle from a cupboard, gave me some brandy, which in a few minutes somewhat restored me. My brain was all in a whirl, and only that there came through at the multitude of horrors the holy ray of light that my dear, dear Lucy was at last at peace. I do not think I could have bore it without making a scene. It is all so wild and mysterious and strange that if I had not known Jonathan's experience in Transylvania, I could not have believed. And it was. I didn't know what to believe, and so got out of my difficulty by attending to something else. I took the cover off my typewriter and said to Dr. Seward, "Let me write this all out now. We must be ready for Dr. Van Helsing when he comes. I have sent a telegram to Jonathan to come on here when he arrives in London from Whitby. In this matter, dates are everything, and I think that if we get all the material ready and have every item put in chronological order, we shall have done much. You tell me that Lord Godalming and Mr. Morris are coming too. Let us be able to tell him when they come." He accordingly set the phonograph at a slow pace, and I began to typewrite from the beginning of the 7th cylinder. I used manifold, and so took 3 copies of the diary, just as I had done with the rest. It was late when I got through, but Dr. Seward went about his work of going his round of the patients. When he had finished, he came back and sat near me, reading, so that I did not feel too lonely whilst I worked. How good and thoughtful he is. The world seems full of good men, even if there are monsters in it. Before I left him, I remembered that Jonathan put in his diary of the professor's perturbation at reading something in an evening paper at the station of Exeter. So, seeing that Dr. Seward keeps his newspapers, I borrowed the files of Whitminster Gazette and the Pall Mall Gazette and took them to my room. I remember how much the Daily Graph and the Whitby Gazette, of which I had made cuttings, helped us to understand the terrible events at Whitby when Count Dracula landed. So I shall look through the evening papers since then, and perhaps I shall get some new light. I'm not sleepy, and the work will help to keep me quiet. Dr. Seward's diary, 30th of September. So this is the next day after everything of their first initial meeting. Okay. Where are we? Right here. Dr. Seward's diary, 30th of September. Mr. Harker arrived at 9 o'clock. He had got his wife's wire just before starting. He is uncommonly clever, if one can judge from his face, and full of energy. If this journal be true, and judging by one's own wonderful experience, it must be. He is also a man of great nerve. That going down to the vault a second time was a remarkable piece of daring. After reading his account of it, I was prepared to be a good specimen of manhood, but hardly the quiet, businesslike gentleman who came here today. Later, after lunch, Harker and his wife went back to their own room, and I passed a while ago. I heard the click of the typewriter. They are hard at it. Miss Harker says they are knitting together a chronological order of every scrap of evidence they have. Harker has got the letters between the consignee of the boxes at Whitby and the carriers in London who took charge of them. He is now reading his wife's typescript in my diary. I wonder what they make out of it. Here it is. Strange that it never struck me that the very next house might be the Count's hiding place. Goodness knows that we had enough clues from the conduct of the patient Renfield. The bundle of letters relating to the purchase of the house were with the transcript. Oh, if we had only had them early, we might have saved poor Lucy. Stop. That way madness lies. Harker has gone back and is again collating his material. He says that by dinner time they will be able to show a whole connected narrative. He thinks that in the meantime I should see Renfield, as hitherto he has been sort of indexed to the coming and going of the Count. I hardly see this yet, but when I get the dates, I suppose I shall. What a good thing that Miss Harker put my cylinders into type. We never could have found the dates otherwise. I found Renfield sitting placidly in his room with his hands folded, smiling benignly. At the moment he seemed as sane as any other one that I saw. I sat down and talked with him on a lot of subjects, all of which he treated naturally. He then, of his own accord, spoke of going home, a subject he has never mentioned to my knowledge and during his sojourn here. In fact, he spoke quite confidently of getting his discharge at once. I believe that, had I not had the chat with Harker and read the letters and the dates of his outbursts, I should have been prepared to sign for him after a brief time of observation. As it is, I am darkly suspicious. All those outbreaks were in some way linked with the proximity of the Count. What then does this absolute content mean? Can it be that his instinct is satisfied as to the vampire's ultimate triumph? Stay, he is himself, Zephagus, and as his wild ravings outside the chapel door of the deserted house, he always spoke of Master. This all seems confirmation of our idea. However, after a while I came away. My friend is just a little too sane at present to make it safe to probe him too deep with questions. He might begin to think, and then... So, I came away. I mistrust these quiet moods of his, so I've given the attendant a hint to look closely after him, and to have strait waistcoat ready in case of need. Jonathan Harker's journal, 29th of September, in train to London. So this is the first time we are hearing from Jonathan Harker himself since his escape of Dracula's castle. Everything else has been Mina, Dr. Seward, or other people. This is the first time we are again hearing from Jonathan Harker, who was the main character in the very beginning of the story. All right. Okay, we got this. Jonathan Harker's journal, 29th September, in train to London. When I received Mr. Billington's courteous message that he would give me any information in his power, I thought it best to go to Whitby and make on the spot such inquiries as I wanted. It was now my object to trace that horrid cargo of the Count's to its place in London. Later, we may be able to deal with it. Billington Jr., a nice lad, met me at the station and brought me to his father's house, where they had decided that I must stay the night. They are hospitable, with true Yorkshire hospitality, gave a guest everything, and leave him free to do as he likes. They all knew that I was busy and that my stay was short, and Mr. Billington had ready in his office all the papers concerning the consignment of boxes. It gave me almost a turn to see again one of the letters I had seen on the Count's table before I knew of his diabolical plans. Everything had been carefully thought out and done systematically and with precision. He seemed to have been prepared for every obstacle which might be placed by accident in the way of his intentions of being carried out. To use an Americanism, he had taken no chances, and the absolute accuracy with which his instructions were fulfilled was simply the logical result of his care. I saw the own invoice and took note of it. 50 cases of common earth to be used for experimental purposes. Also, the copy of letter to Carter Patterson and their reply. Of both of these, I got copies. This was all the information Mr. Billington could give me, so I went down to port and saw the Coast Guardsmen, the customs officers, and the harbour master. They had all something to say of the strange entry of the ship, which is already making its place in local tradition, but no one could add to this simple description 50 cases of common earth. I then saw the station master, who kindly put in communication with the men who had actually received the boxes. Their tally was exact with the list. They had nothing to add except that the boxes were main and mortal heavy, and that the shifting them was dry work. One of them added that it was hard lines and there wasn't any gentleman, such like as yourself, squire, to show some sort of appreciation for their efforts in a liquid form. Another put in a writer that the thirst had generated was such that even the time which had elapsed had not completely allayed it. Needless to add, I took care before leaving to lift, forever and adequately, this source of reproach. Techinaut, thank you for the follow. 30th of September. The station master was good enough to give me a line to his old companion, the station master at King's Cross, so that when I arrived there in the morning, I was able to ask him about the arrival of the boxes. He too put me at once in communication with the proper officials, and I saw that their tally was correct with the original invoice. The opportunities of acquiring an abnormal thirst had been there limited. A noble use of them had, however, been made, and again I was compelled to deal with the result of an ex post facto matter. From thence I went on to Carter Patterson's official central office, where I met with the utmost curiosity. They looked for the transaction of the day book and letter book, and at once telephoned to their King's Cross office of more details by good fortune. Thank you for the tingles. Thank you for coming in. Hope you're nice and relaxed. By good fortune, the men who did the teaming were waiting for work, and the official at once sent them over, sending also by one of them the waybill and all the papers connected with the delivery of the boxes at Carifax. Here again I found the tally agreeing exactly. The carrier's men were able to supplement the papacy of the written word with few details. These were, I shortly found, connected almost solely with the dusty nature of the job and of the consequent thirst engendered on the operators. On my affording an opportunity, though the medium of the currency of the realm, of allaying at a later period this beneficial evil, one of the men remarked, "That House governor is the rummiest I ever was in. Blimey, but it ain't been touched since 100 years. There was dust in that thick in the place you might have slept in without turning of your buns, and the place was that neglected that you might have smelled old Jerusalem in it. But the old chapel that took the chike, that did. Me and me mate, we thought we wouldn't never get out quick enough. Lord, I wouldn't take less than £1 the moment to stay there after dark." Having been in the house, I could well believe him, but if he knew what I knew, he would, I think, have raised his terms. Of one thing I am now satisfied, that all the boxes which arrived at Whitby from Varna in the Demeter were safely deposited in the old chapel at Carifax. There should be 50 of them there, unless any have been removed, as from Dr. Seward's diary, I fear. I shall try to see the carter who took away the boxes from Carifax when Renfield attacked them. By following this clue, we may learn a good deal. Later, Mina and I have worked all day, and we have put all the papers into order. Mina Harker's journal, 30th of September. I am so glad that I hardly know how to contain myself. It is, I suppose, the reaction from the haunting fear which I have had, that this terrible affair and the reopening of his old wound might act detrimental on Jonathan. I saw him leave for Whitby with a brave face as I could, but I was struck with apprehension. The effort was, however, done him good. He was never so resolute, never so strong, never so full of volcanic energy as at present. It is just as that dear good Professor Van Helsing said. He is true grit, and he improves under strain that would kill a weaker nature. He came back full of life and hope and determination that we got everything in order for tonight. I feel myself quite wild with excitement. I suppose one ought to pity anything so haunted as the Count. That is just it. This thing is not human, not even beast. To read Dr. Seward's account of poor Lucy's death, and for what followed, is enough to dry up the springs of pity in one's heart. Later, Lord Godalming and Mr. Morris arrived earlier than expected. Dr. Seward was out on business and had taken Jonathan with him, so I had to see them. It was to me a painful meeting, for it brought back all dear Lucy's hopes of only a few months ago. Of course, they had heard Lucy speak of me, and it seemed that Dr. Van Helsing too had been quite blowing my trumpet, as Mr. Morris expressed it. Poor fellows, neither of them is aware that I know all about the proposals they made to Lucy. They did not quite know what to say or do, as they were ignorant of the amount of my knowledge, so they had to keep on neutral subjects. However, I thought the matter over and came to the conclusion that the best thing I could do would be to post them in affairs right up to date. I knew from Dr. Seward's diary that they had been at Lucy's death, her real death, and that I need not fear to betray any secret before the time. So I told them, as well as I could, that I had read all the papers and diaries, and that my husband and I, having typewritten them, had just finished putting them in order. I gave them each a copy to read in the library. When Lord Godalming got his and turned it over, "It does not make a pretty good pile," he said. "Did you write all this, Miss Harker?" I nodded, and he went on. "I don't quite see the drift of it, but you people are all good at also getting kind that..." Okay, let me start over. "I don't quite see the drift of it, but you people are all so good and kind, and I've been working so earnestly and so energetically that all I can do is to accept your ideas blindfold and try to help you. I have had one lesson already in accepting facts that should make a man humble to the last hour of his life. Besides, I know you loved my poor Lucy." Here he turned away and covered his face with his hands. I could hear the tears in his voice. Mr. Morris, with instinctive delicacy, just laid a hand for a moment on his shoulder, and then walked quietly out of the room. I suppose there is something in woman's nature that makes a man free to break down before her and express his feelings on the tender or emotional side without feeling it derogatory to his manhood. For when Lord Godalming found himself alone with me, he sat down on the sofa and gave way utterly and openly. I sat down beside him and took his hand. I hope he didn't think it forward of me, and that if he ever thinks of it afterwards, he will never have such a thought. There I wrong him. I know he never will. He is too true a gentleman, I said to him, for I could see that his heart was breaking. I loved you, Lucy, and I know that she was to you, and what you were to her. She and I were like sisters, and now she is gone. You will not let me be like a sister to you in your trouble. I know what sorrows you have had, although I cannot measure the depth of them. If sympathy and pity can help in your would you let me be of some little service, for Lucy's sake? In an instant, the poor fellow was overwhelmed with grief. It seemed to me that all he had of late been suffering in silence found a vent at once. He grew quite hysterical and raised his open hands, beat his palms together in perfect agony of grief. He stood up and then sat down again, and the tears rained down his cheeks. I felt an infinite pity for him and opened my arms unthinkingly. With a sob, he laid his head on my shoulder and cried like a weary child whilst he shook with emotion. We women have something of the mother in us that makes us rise above smaller matters when the mother spirit is invoked. I felt his big, sorrowing man's head rest on me, and though it were that of a baby that some day may lie on my bosom, and I stroked his hair as though he were my own child, I never thought at a time how strange it all was. After a little bit, his sobs ceased, and he raised himself with an apology, though he made no disguise of his emotions. He told me that for days and nights past, weary days and sleepless nights, he had been unable to speak with anyone, as a man must speak in his time of sorrow. There was no woman whose sympathy could be given to him, or with whom, owing to the terrible circumstances with which his sorrow was surrounded, he could speak freely. "I know now how I suffered," he said as he dried his eyes, "but I do not even know yet, and none other can ever know, how much your sweet sympathy has been to me today. I shall know better in time, and believe me, though I am not ungrateful now, my gratitude will grow with my understanding. You will let me be like a brother, will you not, for all our lives, for dear Lucy's sake?" "For dear Lucy's sake," I said as we clasped hands. "Aye, and for your own sake," he added. "For if a man's esteem and gratitude are ever worth the winning, you have won mine today. If ever the future should bring you a time when you need a man's help, believe me, you will not call in vain. God grant that no such time may ever come to you to break the sunshine of your life. But should it ever come, promise me that you will let me know." He was so earnest, and his sorrow was so fresh that I felt it would comfort him. So I said, I promise. He speaks so clear. Well, I have to speak clear so that you guys can understand what he's saying. Even on good day. That's fair. I stumble over my own words all the time. As I came along the corridor, I saw Mr. Morris looking out of a window. Wait, what? Okay, so she leaves. Okay. As I came along the corridor, I saw Mr. Morris looking out of a window. He turned as he heard my footsteps. How is Art? He said. Then noticing my red eyes, he went on, I see you have been comforting him. Poor old fellow, he needs it. But no, he needs it. No one but a woman can help a man when he is in trouble of the heart, and he has had no one to comfort him. He bore his own trouble so bravely that my heart bled for him. I saw the manuscript in his hand and knew that when he read it, he would realize how much I knew. So I said to him, I wish I can comfort all who suffered from the heart. Will you let me be a friend? And will you come to me for comfort if you need it? You will know, later on, why I speak. He saw that I was in earnest, and stooping, took my hand, raised it to his lips, kissed it. It seemed but poor comfort to so brave and unselfish a soul, and impulsively I bent over and kissed him. The tears rose in his eyes, and there was a momentary choking in his throat. He said quite calmly, Little girl, you will never regret that true-hearted kindness so long as you ever live. Then he went to the study to his friend. Little girl. The very words he had used to Lucy, and oh, but he proved himself a friend. On the Friday night, doing good, Leori. How about you? Hopefully you're doing well. We just finished chapter 17 of Dracula. I love Mina. I think Mina is probably one of my favorite characters in the story so far. Honestly, she is... I don't know, she's just... There's just something about her where, like... Whereas Lucy was everything that was supposed to be, like, pure and innocent, maybe even naive when it came to just life in general, right? She kind of had like she took the silver spoon analogy, right? Born with the silver spoon in her mouth. She took that analogy to a level that went beyond just her relationships and her friendships. Everybody saw her and fell in love, right? One way or another, they fell in love with her. That was Lucy. But Mina, her actions and her attitude, right? Not only is she intelligent and she's, like she has an education and she's just like, well, this is cool, but I can learn more. She excels in that field, right? And she has everything that makes me think of someone that you would want in a significant other, right? She's supportive, and not just her husband, but the people around her, right? Van Helsing, Morris, Lord Godalming, everybody, right? Even Dr. Seward, you know? And I really like that about her. I really like that she's that type of a character. But yeah. Let's see. We have about 15 more minutes. I don't think I can do the next chapter in 15 minutes. So, yeah, I definitely cannot. But the chapters are getting shorter. So I think we could probably finish the story in the next, not next meeting, but maybe the meeting after, right? If we're able to do 2 or 3 stories at a time, or 2 or 3 chapters at a time, I believe we can do that. Koma! Hi! Oh my gosh! Hi, Koma! Oh my god, guys, if you were not here yesterday, I went and raided into Koma as they ended. I was like, cool. Anyways, it was really funny. Oh man. But how are you, Leori? I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put away the reading stuff. Because we have, like I said, we have about 15 more minutes. And I ended a little early last night, so I think I'm gonna continue until the end so we can get the full 4 hours. And I think I want to do like a short story, like a fairy tale. Like a fairy tale. Yeah, let's see if we can find a good fairy tale. Let's see what I can find. Did you sleep early last night? I ended up going to sleep pretty early, yeah. I still did the things that I needed to do, but I did end up going to sleep a little bit on the earlier side. Let's see. Let me find a good story. How about fairy tale? That's not high school fairy tale. Let's see, what can I find? Grimm's fairy tales? Ooh. You know, I've never really read much of the Grimm's fairy tales. Maybe we can find one. That's good to hear. Yeah, how was the rest of your night, Leori? Did you have a good one? Did you have some good sleeps? I actually really like this song. The Elves and the Shoemaker. Oh, that's a cute one. I like that one. The Urinip, the Fox and the Cat, 4 clever brothers. Lily and the Lion, the Fox and the Horse, Blue Light, the Raven, Golden Goose. 12 Huntsmen, the King and the Golden Mountain, Dr. Know-all, the 7 Ravens, the Weddings of Miss Fox. It was the evening when you ended stream, so I went out to play some badminton with friends and got dinner with them. It was nice. What'd you have for dinner? We had carne asada today for dinner, and I made myself a carne asada salad with olives, with olives and tomato, cucumber, and then I used a vinaigrette with the carne asada. Oh, it was so good. It was so tasty. I did not go to sleep early last night though. Oh, you didn't? That's fair. I think I had pho because I'm Vietnam. What kind of pho? I like the one that has like the meatballs. It's like a fishy kind of flavor. I don't know exactly what the meat is made out of, but it's so good. And it has like the big pieces of like fish. Does that make sense to you? I know it's like a combination of different like fishy things, like seafood stuff made with beef broth. Ooh, oh, I love pho. My mom makes pho every so often, not super often because the broth takes so much time to make. But oh my god, pho is so good. I really, really like it. It's probably one of my favorite things to like. If I go out with friends and we get pho, that's one of my favorite things to go get. Can confirm, pho is great. Right? Oh, it's so good. And I like that they have the little plate of like the mint and the jalapeno and the, what is that white stuff? It's like stringy and white. And it's crunchy. It's a vegetable. What is it called? Not water chestnuts. It's something else. It's like noodle shaped, but it's short. It's not super long like noodles. It's like shorter. It's a type of beanstalk. Yeah, I can't think of what it's called though. Bean sprout. Bean sprout. We call it Da, di, like da? Da? Is that how you say it? Da? Am I saying it right? Bean sprouts? Yeah, hi Koa. Welcome in, how are you? I like bean sprouts. I think that's what it's called. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Hi Koa, welcome in, how are you? How's your night? Not my stomach deciding it needs to grumble. I had a giant solid stomach. Okay, I think I want to do this one. It doesn't seem very long. How are you? I'm doing good. It is the D in Vietnamese, pronounced like the Y in English. Yeah, yeah? Is it yeah? Like that? Yeah, yeah. Because I know in Spanish, right? Yeah. Yeah, yeah? Is that how you say it? Oh, okay. Wait, hold on. Leori, how do I say you're cute? How do I say you're cute? How would I say you're cute? I had a friend who tried to teach me how to say something like that in Korean, but I already forgot. I wrote it down too. Like, I heard him say it and I was like, say it a couple times so I can write it down phonetically. And I kept trying to like say it, but I don't think I did a good job because I still don't remember it. Though I have it written down somewhere, I don't remember where. Hi, Bitter. Welcome in. I'm about to sleep, but gonna have you in the background to help me sleep. Yeah, of course. Of course. Lay down and have a good rest. Thank you so much for coming in and having a good lurk. Okay, hold on. Because the D you said is pronounced like a Y. So be ye durangqua? Ye durangqua? Is that how you say it? Am I saying that wrong? I'm probably saying that wrong. I bet you I am. I bet you I'm saying that wrong. Ye durangqua? Qua? Because I see the QUA and my brain's just like, that's French. No, no. Ye Tongwa? Ye Tongwa? Ye Tongwa? Like that? Ye Tongwa? Is that really how you say it? Ye Tongwa? Am I saying it right? Hopefully I am. But the story I wanted to read, I was looking at the elves and the shoemaker, but I kind of wanted to do one called the turnip or the juniper tree. The white snake. Ooh, that sounds cool. I definitely don't think I can do the cat and the mouse in partnership, the Goose Girl Adventures of Chanticleer and Portlet. Ooh, okay, do you guys want to hear about Chanticleer? Let's see. It is, there's two, yeah, it's definitely, I can do this in like a couple minutes. At least for like one of them that looks like 2 or 3 little stories that they have going on. Yeah. I'm not joking, but if you like, I'll teach you the accent pitches and yes. Yes, Braun. Ooh, yes. Yeah. I would love to. Okay. Let's go ahead and we're still gonna read. I'm just gonna read a couple of these stories. Because we still have a couple more minutes. I want to go a little over because I did end a little late, or sorry, a little early last night, and I want to make up the time. I want to make up the time for you guys because you guys are always here and hanging out. So I want to give that to you guys. So we're going to read The Adventures of Chanticleer and Parlet. If you guys want to follow, here is the book. Here's the story. Okay. The Adventures of Chanticleer and Parlet. How they went to the mountain to eat nuts. The nuts are quite ripe now, said Chanticleer to his wife Parlet. Suppose we go together to the mountains and eat as many as we can before the squirrel takes them all away. With all my heart, said Parlet, let us go and make a holiday of it together. So they went to the mountain, and as it was a lovely day, they stayed there till the evening. Now, whether it was that they had eaten so many nuts they could not walk, or whether they were lazy and would not, I do not know. However, they took it to their heads that it did not become them to go home on foot. So Chanticleer began to build a little carriage of nutshells, and when it was finished, Parlet jumped into it and sat down and bid Chanticleer harness himself to it and draw her home. That's a good joke, said Chanticleer. No, that will never do. I had rather by half walk home. I'll sit on the box and coachman if you like, but I'll not draw. While this was passing, a duck came quacking up and cried out, You thieving vagabonds! What business do you have in my grounds? I'll give it you well for your insolence. And upon that she fell upon Chanticleer most lustily. But Chanticleer was no coward, and returned the duck's blows with his sharp spurs so fiercely that she soon began to cry out for mercy, which was only granted her upon condition that she would draw the carriage home for them. This she agreed to, and Chanticleer got up from the box and drove, crying, Now, duck, get on as fast as you can. And away they went at a pretty good pace. Oh, before I continue, so Chanticleer is a rooster. His wife is a chicken. His wife is a chicken and he is a rooster. Hi, Reaper. Welcome and how are you? Nuts. Yeah, I go to mountains for nuts too. After they had traveled along a little way, they met a needle and a pin walking together along the road. And the needle cried out, Stop! Stop! And said it was so dark that they could hardly find their way, and such dirty walking they could not get on at all. He told them that he and his friend, the pin, had been at a public house and flew miles off and had sat drinking till they had forgotten how late it was. He began, therefore, that the travelers would be so kind as to give them a lift in their carriage. Chanticleer, observing that they were but thin fellows and not likely to take up much room, told them that they might ride, but made them promise not to dirty the wheels of the carriage and get in, nor to tread on Partlet's toes. Later at night they arrived at an inn, and it was as bad traveling in the dark, and the duck seemed much tired and waddled about a good deal from one side to the other. They made up their minds to fix their quarters there, but the landlord at first was unwilling, and said his house was full, thinking they might not be very respectable company. However, they spoke civilly to him, and gave him the egg which Partlet had laid by the way, and said they would give him the duck, who was in the habit of laying one every day. So at last he let them come in, and they bespoke of some handsome supper, and spent the evening there jollily. That's a funny word. Early in the morning, before it was quite light, and when nobody was stirring at the inn, Chanticleer awakened his wife, and, fetching the egg, they pecked a hole in it, ate it up, and threw the shells into the fireplace. They even went to the pin and needle, who were fast asleep, and seizing them by the heads, stuck one to the landlord's easy chair, and the other into his handkerchief, and having done this, they crept away so softly as possible. However, the duck, who slept in the open air in the yard, heard them coming, and jumping into the brook which ran close to the inn, soon swam out of their reach. An hour or two afterwards, the landlord got up and took his handkerchief to wipe out his face, but the pin ran into him and pricked him when he walked into the kitchen to light his pipe at the fire. But when he stirred up, the eggshells flew into his eyes and almost blinded him. "Bless me," he said, "all the world seems to have a design against my head this morning." And so saying, he threw himself sulkily into his chair. But, oh dear, the needle ran into him, and this time the pain was not in his head. He now flew into a very great passion, and suspecting the company who had come in the night before, he went to look after them. But they were all off, so he swore that he never again would take in such a troop of vagabonds who ate a great deal, paid no reckoning, and gave him nothing for his trouble but their apish tricks. Why would they do that to him? Like, was it just so they didn't have to pay for the night? Chanticleer is supposed to be, I guess he kind of is a rebel rouser, huh? I guess so. I've always assumed that he was kind of more of a like a sweetheart type of character, but I guess not. He's kind of a jerk. Anyways, we have two more little stories. How Chanticleer and Partlet went to visit Mr. Korbes. Another day, Chanticleer and Partlet wished to ride out together, so Chanticleer built a handsome carriage with 4 red wheels and harnessed 6 mice to it, and then he and Partlet got into the carriage and away they drove. Soon afterwards, a cat met them and said, "Where are you going?" And Chanticleer replied, "All on our way to a visit to pay to Mr. Korbes the fox today." Then the cat said, "Take me with you." Chanticleer said, "With all my heart, get up behind and be sure you do not fall off. Take care of this handsome coach of mine, nor dirty my pretty red wheels so fine. Now mice be ready and wheels be steady, for we are going a visit to pay to Mr. Korbes the fox today." Soon after came up a milestone, an egg, a duck, and a pin, and Chanticleer gave them all leave to get into the carriage and go with them. When they arrived at Mr. Korbes' house, he was not at home. So the mice drew the carriage into the coach house. Chanticleer and Partlet flew upon a beam. The cat sat down at the fireplace. The duck got into the washing cistern. The pin struck him into the bed pillow. The millstone laid himself over the house door, and the egg rolled himself up in the towel. When Mr. Korbes came home, he went to the fireplace to make a fire, but the cat threw all the ashes in his eyes, so he ran to the kitchen to wash himself, but there was the duck splashing all the water in his face. And when he tried to wipe himself, the egg broke to pieces and the towel all over his face and eyes. Then he was very angry and went without his supper to bed. But when he laid his head on the pillow, the pin ran into his cheek, and he became quite furious, and jumping up, would have ran out of the house, but when he came to the door, the millstone fell down on his head and killed him on the spot. Huh? So they went to... just because he was a fox, he was literally not bothering them. The fuck, Chanticleer? Wow. Okay. I see. Fine. Right? Like, he literally wasn't doing anything. You're good? Good. Jollibee? Ooh, Jollibee. They moited him. Right. Like, okay, I can understand, right, if Mr. Korbes the fox was over at their house and caused havoc or something, but he literally was just like off doing his own thing, wasn't bothering either of them, right? So then they go to his house, cause havoc, and then Moida, like. Okay, so Chanticleer is not a cute, sweet, fun character. He's an asshole. And his wife is too. Holy shit, this is crazy. Okay, there's one more story to Chanticleer. Yes, but he's a fox. Mr. Chanticleer, right? Oh, it's spelled Chanticleer. 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 I just always heard it that way, so I can't not say it that way. Chanticleer. Imagine naming your rooster Chanticleer. Second guess was closer. Yeah, it was. Oh my god. Okay. Last story of Chanticleer, and then we can do some Rapunzel afterwards. Care package. Oh my gosh, thank you. Actually, we needed that. Guess we shouldn't be getting involved getting eclairs from Chanticleer. No. Everybody, we're gonna do a quick care package and we do them together. So if you're at your desk, sit up straight, tilt your head to the left. And tilt your head to the right. Look up. And look down. Sit up and drink some mama. I wonder if there's Moita in this one too. I don't know. It's called How Partlet. How Partlet died and was buried, and how Chanticleer died of grief. Should we skip that one and just go to Rapunzel, which is the next one? I think I want to just go to Rapunzel. I'm just gonna go to Rapunzel, I think. I think I'm just gonna go to Rapunzel. Yeah, we're just gonna go to Rapunzel. Oh my god. Really quick, because I'm gonna stay live a bit longer, I'm gonna run to the bathroom really quick, and I'll be right back, okay? I'll be right back. Okay. And we're back. Death and Dracula. Honestly, yeah, that's kind of what it was feeling like. I was like, why so much? Oh my god. Okay. We're gonna do Rapunzel, and then I will call it a night there. It's a pretty short one, so I should be able to do it pretty quickly. Yeah, just enough time for us to wrap up tonight's stream. All right. There were once a man and a woman who had long in vain wished for a child. At length the woman had hoped that God was about to grant her desire. These people had a little window at the back of their house from which a splendid garden could be seen, which was full of the most beautiful flowers and herbs. It was, however, surrounded by a high wall, and no one dared to go into it because it belonged to an enchantress. He had great power and was dreaded by all the world. One day, the woman was standing by this window and looked down into the garden when she saw a bed which was planted with the most beautiful ramipon, or Rapunzel. And it looked so fresh and green that she longed for it. She was quite pined away, began to look pale and miserable. Then her husband was alarmed and asked, "What ails you, dear wife?" "Ah," she replied, "if I can't eat some of the ramipon, which is in the garden behind our house, I shall die." The man who loved her thought, "Sooner than let your wife die, bring her some of the ramipon yourself. Let it cost what it will." At twilight, he clambered down over the wall and into the garden of the enchantress, hastily clutched a handful of ramipon and took it to his wife. She at once made herself a salad of it and ate it greedily. It tasted so good to her, so very good, that the next day she longed for it 3 times as much as before. If he was to have any rest, her husband must once more descend into the garden. In the gloom of evening, therefore, he let himself down again, but when he had clambered down the wall, he was terribly afraid, for he saw the enchantress standing before him. "How can you dare," she said with an angry look, "descend into my garden and steal my ramipon like a thief? You shall suffer for it." "Ah," answered he, "let mercy take the place of injustice. I only made up my mind to do it out of necessity. My wife saw your ramipon from the window and felt such a longing for it that she would have died if she had not some to eat." Then the enchantress allowed her anger to soften and said to him, "If the case be as you say, I will allow you to take away with you as much ramipon as you will. Only, I make one condition. You must give me the child which your wife will bring into the world. It shall be well treated, and I will care for it like a mother." The man in his terror consented to everything, and when the woman was brought to bed, the enchantress appeared once more, gave the child the name of Rapunzel, and took it away with her. Rapunzel grew into the most beautiful child under the sun. When she was 12 years old, the enchantress shut her in a tower which lay in a forest and had neither stairs nor a door, but quite at the top was a little window. When the enchantress wanted to go in, she placed herself beneath it and cried, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair to me." Rapunzel had magnificent long hair, fine as spun gold, and when she heard the voice of the enchantress, she unfastened her braided tresses, wound them one of the hooks of the window above, and then the hair fell 20 ells below, and the enchantress climbed up by it. After a year or two, it came to pass that the king's son rode through the forest and passed by the tower. Then he heard a song, which was so charming that he stood still and listened. This was Rapunzel, who in her solitude passed her time in letting her sweet voice resound. The king's son wanted to climb up to her and looked for the door of the tower, but none was to be found. He rode home, but the singing had so deeply touched his heart that every day he went out to the forest and listened to it. Once, when he was thus standing behind a tree, he saw the enchantress came there, and when he heard how she cried, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair to me," then Rapunzel let down the braids of her hair, and the enchantress climbed up to her. "If that is the ladder by which one mounts, I too will try my fortune," said he, and the next day, when it began to grow dark, he went to the tower and cried, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair to me." Immediately, the hair fell down, and the king's son climbed up. At first, Rapunzel was terribly frightened when a man, such as her eyes had never yet beheld, came to her. But the king's son began to talk to her quite like a friend, and told her that his heart had been so stirred that it had let him have no rest, and he had been forced to see her. And Rapunzel lost her fear, and when he asked her if she would take him for her husband, and she saw that he was young and handsome, she thought, "He will love me than old Dame Gothel does." And she said yes, and laid her hand in his. She said, "I will willingly go away with you, but I do not know how to get down. Bring with you a skin of silk every time you come, and I will weave a ladder with it. And when that is ready, I will descend, and you will take me on your horse." They agreed that until that time he should come to hear her every evening, for the old woman come by day. The enchantress remarked nothing of this, until once Rapunzel said to her, "Tell me, Dame Gothel, how happens that you are so much heavier for me to draw up than the young king's son? He is with me in a moment." "Ah, you wicked child!" cried the enchantress. "What do I hear you say? I thought I had separated you from all the world, and yet you have deceived me." In her anger, she clutched Rapunzel's beautiful tresses, wrapped them twice around her left hand, seized a pair of scissors in the right, and snip, snap, they were cut off, and the lovely braids lay on the ground. And she was so pitiless that she took poor Rapunzel into a desert where she had to live in great grief and misery. On the same day that she cast out Rapunzel, however, the enchantress fastened the braids of hair, which she had cut off the hook, to the window, and when the king's son came and cried, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair to me," she let down the hair. The king's son assented, but instead of finding his dearest Rapunzel, he found the enchantress, who gazed at him with wicked and venomous looks. "Aha!" she cried mockingly. "You would fetch your dearest, but the beautiful bird sits no longer singing in the nest. The cat has got it and will scratch out your eyes as well. Rapunzel is lost to you, and you will never see her again." The king's son was beside himself with pain, and in his despair he leapt down from the tower. He escaped with his life, but the thorns into which he fell pierced his eyes. Then he wandered quite blind about the forest, ate nothing but roots and berries, and did not but lament and weep over the loss of his dearest wife. Thus he roamed about in misery for some years, and at length he came to the desert where Rapunzel, with the twins to which she had given birth, a boy and a girl, lived in wretchedness. He heard a voice, and it seemed so familiar to him that he went towards it, and when he approached, Rapunzel knew him and fell on his neck and wept. 2 of her tears wetted his eyes, and they grew clear again, and he could see with them as before. He led her to his kingdom, where he was joyously received, and they lived a long time afterwards, happy and contented. Yeah, there's the blood. I was like, this is a Brothers Grimm fairy tale. Where's the blood? Found it. We found it at the very end. Oh my gosh. Okay. I think, yes, we are at the end of stream tonight. Everybody on YouTube, thanks so much for hanging out with me. Hopefully you enjoyed the stories and everything, and I will catch